we want to do the regular intro, or is this it? We're in it.
We'll do the regular intro. Here we go. Welcome to For Your Amusement, a theme park podcast that aims to exhaustively evaluate the world's most popular theme park attractions to determine if they are world class. I'm Ryan Bergara.
And I'm stoked. No, I'm Byron Marin.
And we're coming to you live from Epic Universe, or more specifically, Terra Luna, the hotel that Universal has graciously put us up in to preview Epic Universe, because Byron and I were lucky enough to attend Media Day at Epic Universe April 5th, 2025, viewing the park a full month before everybody else, which is honestly incredible. So thank you to Universal. And also just a little disclosure up top that we were invited here by Universal for Media Day. So take that in however you will as we give our review.
And also, major thank you to all our viewers and listeners who have stuck with us through all this, because we also wouldn't be here if it weren't for you all. So,
no, we quite literally would not.
Thank you for keeping the train rolling for us, and hopefully in return we can give you a very interesting sneak peek. And as this show goes, and you might have noticed this in the title of the episode, we're going to give very generalized thoughts to start this episode out so that it is spoiler free. And then we will segue eventually into more of the fine intricacies of our day and how it went, and get into the attractions themselves and, reveal some of those spoilers. We might not give away major, creative, plot points exactly to all the attractions, but for those who really want the full surprise,
we'll give you a warning.
Take heed when that time comes. But for the starters, you're just going to get our general feelings towards everything, and then we'll progress to the details.
That's right. And we actually went to Islands of Adventure yesterday, and I procured a Cat in the hat. And so when you see me dancing in front of the camera in the Cat in the hat, just know that's your warning that spoilers are going to be coming from the episode then on. It'll be very obvious, and something that you won't be able to erase from your memory, whether you'd like to or not. Also, if you're new to this pod and you're just clicking on this because of the title, welcome in. This is not our normal set. We are usually in a tiki room. Right now, as I said, we are in a hotel room, and normally we will cover one attraction at a time. But this is a very special occasion.
A little FYA on the go.
A little FYA on the go, which is why we're coming to you from the couch, or not the couch, but the bed. We went to Epic Universe today, and it was a lot to take, and it was amazing.
It still feels like a dream.
If you're watching the video version over at FYA Pod, youtube.com/@FYA Pod, subscribe to keep us alive. Thank you for watching. And audio, wherever you're listening to this, subscribe there and leave a rating. It helps the podcast a lot. And consider supporting us over on our fourth wall, which is just another version of Patreon at FYApod.com. Our merch is there as well. Helps us keep making this show. You'll get up to 3 monthly bonus shows in addition to the free one you're listening to now. But all that aside, let's get into it. Epic Universe. Where do we even begin with this? We've already done an episode in which we covered and ranked our top 10 most anticipated attractions over at Epic Universe. You could go ahead and watch that episode. But if you watched that one, you will know that we had major expectations going into this park. I will say that most theme parks throughout history do not have a good track record in terms of being of how they are opening day. A brand new theme park on day one is almost always not great, and most times, honestly, a disaster, because people always forget Disneyland was a shit show. So why would Epic Universe be any different? Well, we're here to tell you what we thought. And Byron...
Yeah, and the caveat, though, being that, once again, this is Media Day. This is
Media Day.
The official day one. So that obviously meant that, wait times for us were probably very different than what they're going to look like on opening day.
We were walked around with a guide, which was very nice. A lovely man, Rich, by the way, if you're watching this, shout out to Rich. He was excellent and was a coaster head just like us. We loved chopping it up with him. But we were also lucky enough to, because we were also at the park with some family, we did experience half the day with the guided tour and then half the day as a somewhat normal park guest, because these were also team member previews. So we were able to, wait in the normal standby lines and do that experience as well. All that to say, just knee-jerk first reactions, Byron. What did you think of the park?
I gotta say, I want to preface this by saying there is what many consider to be an insurmountable amount of hype for this park.
Mm-hmm.
Leading up throughout the construction, even, through some of the people that got in, weeks prior to this, whether that be team members or family members of team members.
That's right.
So to me, I think it was appropriate to register that this was an insurmountable amount of hype.
Mm-hmm.
Yet it found a way for me personally to exceed that hype.
I agree.
And once again, maybe recency bias. We kind of, we have the rose-colored glasses when we go through a day like this, very dreamlike. Once again, we had the tour. Probably went a little smoother for us than I'd imagine for most people on opening day or just a regular day. But just pound for pound, the offerings that this park has, the way this park looks, the way this park feels. And I know a previous episode I mentioned that what's going to make or break this park was Celestial Park.
Yes.
That runs throughout the course of this park and was going to be a make or break in terms of its identity, the park's identity.
I agree, yeah.
Do you agree that this park feels like it has an identity?
Oh, it definitely does. And I will say, just to feed the hounds, if you will, let's start this off with just a hyperbolic statement. I think hyperbolic is a word. If not, that just shows I'm a great podcaster. But I think sometimes the best way to contextualize something that people haven't experienced yet is to compare it to things that they know. So, Byron, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run through some of my favorite theme parks, and I want you to tell me if you think Epic Universe is better or not. And here's how I'm quantifying better. Mm-hmm. When I mean better, I guess it's kind of hard to because it turns into subjectivity. But I will say, like, if I was a wizard and I were able to give you the ability to snap your fingers and you could be instantly transported into this park when you snap your fingers, which one would you rather have that ability to have at all times?
Okay, let's go for it. By the way, I have like a chunk of Gideons in my mouth.
That's
my
right.
Apologies, but
let's just start with a no-brainer. Disneyland.
That's a really mean one to start with.
I'm just saying, we're going to get it out of the way. Disneyland. Is it not better or is it better? Is Epic Universe better or not better than Disneyland?
Epic Universe is not better than Disneyland.
Okay, that's fine.
It can't prove itself to do that yet because Disneyland is 70 years.
Hey, man, I'm just
timeless,
asking. Look, I'm asking the questions. All I was asking for was a better or not better. I wasn't asking for the extra,
knee-jerk,
little razzmatazz.
Knee-jerk, not better, but I don't think I could say any other park is better than Disneyland. And that includes Disney Sea. Which I think is like a very impressive park.
Matt Damon and Oppenheimer? I don't think I would have passed any of those guys. Okay, Disneyland, obviously no. Let's go Knott's Berry Farm.
Epic.
Okay. California Adventure.
Epic.
Hollywood Studios.
Epic.
Magic Kingdom.
Epic.
Epcot. Now we're getting tough.
That's tough.
I could tell you what okay, I'm just going to let you answer. Epcot.
Once again, this is so new. We just went to it like
Byron,
a
answer the
couple hours
question.
Ago. Epic.
I'm with you. I have Epic. Okay.
I don't know if I'll feel that way in a couple months. It feels weird and dirty to say that. I love Epcot.
Feels dirty.
Feels dirty as I munch on this cookie.
Islands of Adventure. Its own brother.
Epic.
I'm with you there as well.
Because I would take Epcot over Islands, personally.
I would too. Okay. Okay, obviously Universal Orlando.
And I love Islands as well.
Universal Orlando.
Come on.
Yeah. Okay, Disney Sea. Another tough one. I'll tell you where I'm at, and it's pretty quick for me, honestly.
Funny enough, and this is a weird comparison I made midday today. I was like, in regards to the tone of the park and the identity of this park, and the way it made me feel, I said like halfway through this day that Epic is to Universal as Disney Sea was to Disney in 2001.
Could you expand on that?
It brought out a similar feeling. There's just kind of this mature tone to it at times. The way the music works, how the way all the, just how heavily detailed everything is.
I see what you're saying.
And once again, Disney Sea was a multi-billion-dollar park. It was built for $4 billion. This is rumored to be in that same category, perhaps
Way
even
higher.
more expensive.
Way higher, for sure.
And part of that's inflation, but a lot of it's just they really left no stone unturned in terms of the level of detail that you get in this park. That being said, I like the rides a lot better at Epic.
I'm taking Epic.
I am such I ride so hard for Tokyo Disney Sea.
I love Disney Sea. I went to Disney Sea for the first time, for context, in November, so less than half a year ago, and I'm taking Epic. Epic is Disney Sea's beautiful. I get what you're saying in terms of the maturity compared to other Disney parks, and how Epic has a maturity and a level of finesse that perhaps other Universal parks don't have. But what Epic has that Disney Sea doesn't have is it's a rides park. I love Disney Sea. I think you could charge people to go there for no rides at all because it's that beautiful, but I don't consider it a rides park. The lineup
and also
is somewhat, and people are going to fucking fry me probably for this, but I will say that I don't think the lineup is insanely strong, and Epic...
But do you think it's not strong for us because so many of those attractions we already have at our California resort? Or do you think it's...
We have Soarin'?
Indy?
Soarin' and Indy,
Toy Story Mania, Tower of Terror.
Toy Story Mania in there. Come on now.
A lot of people love Toy Story Mania. They clearly do. It's just one of the rides. I just got to.
Tower. It's a really great version of Tower. For a while there, you could say they had a better version of Indy than us. I never believed that, but I could see why they would say that. I think after our improvements, Indy's better.
I think you can make arguments that Disney Sea has the overall better theming.
Let me ask you this.
Barely, but there's never been another theme park that I thought has come close to Disney Sea in terms of overall immersive theming.
How many rides at Disney Sea could you legitimately make an argument are the best ride in the world? I'm not saying that they are the best ride in the world, but no one will call you crazy for making the argument that it's the best ride in the world. How many at Disney Sea can you say?
I'd say maybe one.
Which is?
Indy.
I agree. Indy, yeah. Journey to the Center of the Earth, no. Definitely no for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, though. That ride does kick major ass. Love Sinbad. The Fantasy Springs rides, definitely not. Frozen is technologically very advanced, but ultimately, I didn't feel moved by it in a way. I think it's a great ride, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't, if someone was like, I think that's the best ride in the world, I'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I personally wouldn't know what I'm talking about when it comes to Fantasy Springs, given that I've never been there, but I do know what I'm talking about when it comes to chef-prepared gourmet meals delivered right to my doorstep. Say, are you also ready to optimize your nutrition this year? Because Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes, so you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. There are 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week. It's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. I personally love going with Protein Plus, just the way my exercise routine's going so far. I need that extra protein in my diet. So once again, Factor really coming in clutch with that. Factor can also help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfast, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. Reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code FACTORPODCAST to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code FACTORPODCAST at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box.
The question now turns to Epic. How many rides at Epic can you legitimately say people have an argument that this is the best ride in the world? I have a number in my head. I'm curious what yours is. And it's not one.
I'd say 2.
Yeah, I think I have 2. You could maybe squeeze a third in there.
You might be able to squeeze a best coaster in there.
You could definitely squeeze a best coaster in there for a third. And maybe that's giving away a little bit. But undoubtedly, there are 2 rides at Epic that you can say, this is the best ride in the world, and here's why. And no one will be like, you don't know what you're talking about. Because after you experience these, we have a major, major player that has entered the game here. And I also, just for posterity, where do you have? Because I haven't been to Shanghai. You've been to Disneyland Shanghai. What do you got? Shanghai, or do you got Epic?
Well, Shanghai does have
Pirates,
new stuff since I've been, because I went like a month after that park opened in 2016.
Yes. Pirates, Tron.
I would say, just for best ride in the world.
No, I'm talking about which one you take in, Epic or Shanghai.
Epic.
Oh, wow. I wasn't expecting that quick of an answer. Okay.
Just based off my 2016 experience, I like the park a lot, but I would definitely take the Tokyo parks over it.
So here's the thing. We just ran through that list, and this is actually a really good roundabout way to see where parks fall in your rankings, because we're talking about this from a generalized sense here. According to what you just said, Disneyland is 1. Epic is 2.
We'll see how it ages.
Islands is 4.
I'm riding a big
Epcot
high
is
right
3.
now. I'm riding a big recency bias high right now.
What is your reaction to your list, though? Disneyland 1, Epic 2, Epcot 3, Islands 4. That's what you have right now. Or maybe even Islands 5 and Disney Sea 4. Because do you have Disney Sea over Epcot?
Oh, boy.
I guess we don't need to get into that. But the main thing is you have Epic 2. And I do too. It's Disneyland, and then it's Epic. That's crazy to me. If you would have told me that before we went into the park, I would have thought you were crazy. I went in personally thinking it can't be better than Islands. How could it possibly be better than Islands? Islands is a fantastic park. It's a top 5 park in the world for me. Epic is a brand new theme park starting on day 1. On day 1, it's better than Islands? That is absolutely absurd.
Yeah, and Islands has some bangers.
And Islands has 2 rides also that you could say are the best ride in the world.
Now, let me know if you agree with this.
Unless you don't. I think Velocicoaster you could say is maybe one of the best rides in the world. Definitely one of the best coasters in the world. Hagrid's undoubtedly you could say that's one of the best rides in the world.
Fair. Now, let me know if you agree with me on this. Let me circle back to what I was even thinking. Oh, no, I'm drawing a huge blank.
We did just theme park so hard
I am
today.
so fucking tired right now. What did I want to check with? Oh, yeah, you know what? On paper.
Okay.
On paper prior to this trip, did you have the same worry that I had when just looking at the attraction lists for Epic in its opening year that maybe there wouldn't be enough attractions to fill out a day?
I did, but now having experienced them, there really isn't a true week world/ride to the point where and also who knows what the attendance numbers are going to look like for this park. And some of the rides I do think are going to have some capacity issues, in all fairness. So we might be seeing some crazy waits. I definitely think it's a full day park in my opinion.
We went 10 a.m. to 7 p.m.
That's right.
With a few of those hours, only a few of those hours without a guide.
That's right.
We spent the majority of the day without waiting in lines, and yet we barely got everything we wanted to do.
That's right. And we missed some things.
Some things, I think we got really lucky with how much we were able to do. I didn't expect us to get all the heavy hitters.
Well, how much did we actually miss? That's another good thing, too, to establish up top. We got on everything except we didn't do the astronomical water pad.
We set foot on top of it. We walked over. It wasn't doing its water thing, but
That's true.
We were there. We even did the Constellation Carousel.
I really wanted to do the Constellation
We did the
Carousel.
Dragons. We did the Dragons Racers Rally.
That's right. We cleared Isle of Berk. Did we clear everything? Yeah, because we cleared Dark Universe. We cleared Super Nintendo World. We
didn't do Mario Kart because we have it at home.
Oh, that's true. We do have it at home.
But that took effort to get on everything we did. And we had front of the line for most of the day, and it still took an effort to.
Yeah, we also cleared Wizarding World as well. Which, by the way, just letting you guys know, we were insanely lucky that we were able to ride Ministry of Magic as well. I believe, we were among the first, I guess, because that ride has not been open. So this was, I believe it was like the first day it was open to technically the public in the sense of like.
I think they offered a very small window to let media in to check that out, because it looked like our plans for that morning were altered to make that happen.
That's
so,
right.
A big shout out to Universal and the team members that were able to give us that opportunity.
Yeah.
When we get into details of the attraction later on, it will appear somewhat evident why.
Yeah.
It's, it's not quite ready, and, fingers crossed it's over the line by May 22nd, because
I hope so, yeah. Especially for the sake of all you folks who have reserved opening day tickets and whatnot and done your vacation packages.
But it was very clear to give us an opportunity that they made that happen for us.
And I was internally grateful.
Yeah.
I could have kissed Rich today. And if I wasn't a married man, I would have proposed to him on the spot. But I will say, why don't we just now generally walk through each of the worlds and give our thoughts? And we could do it, I think, in the order that we experienced them. So we started our day at Dark Universe. Reactions from a general standpoint on the land.
Well, we technically started our day in Celestial Park.
That's true. We did start our day in Celestial Park, but we didn't actually ride anything there. We just walked through it.
Mm-hmm.
But we could, you want to reflect on Celestial first? We could do that.
Yeah, sure. Do we want to talk about front gate first impressions, walking up to the front gate? It's a neat reveal, I think.
I think so.
We could talk in more details later on. Anyone that's followed any of the promos for this park, knows about the Chronos and stuff like that, and what the front gate looks like. So I don't think we have to get into it.
It's got an interesting mythos to it, though. Like, it's a tower that you kind of enter through that kind of invites you into the land or to the park itself. And
it seems, there is a story behind it.
There is a story.
I haven't gathered all of it, but it seems like an effort was put into, coming up with a character to kind of lead this, story of the park. And I thought that was really neat.
I think just from an overall build standpoint, Celestial Park being the hub of everything, and then, it kind of branches off into these different islands or worlds. The hub itself is incredibly well done. It's lush,
gorgeous.
It's beautiful. The sight lines were exhaustively thought through. And I if you are a fan of this podcast, you'll know that I'm a stickler for sight lines, and I thought they were immaculate. Mm-hmm. From the moment you walk in, you are immersed, and you're seeing what they want you to see.
And what's really funny is this takes me back to the amount of times theme parks, due to budgetary restrictions, throughout history, have had to make choices of cutting the amount of water fixtures.
Yeah.
And to walk into this park and see the amount of water.
And not just water stationary, water in motion, water in fountains, water
doing stuff,
water dancing in the middle of Celestial Park. It's truly, not only is it beautiful and spectacular, but it's kind of hard to communicate the scale of it all. I think you see, we're all, we've all been following BioReconstruct's aerial photos. And
I don't know about all of us. But
well,
we even stopped eventually.
Because I didn't want too many spoilers. But I still was like, how big is this park actually? And when you're in it, boy, does it feel large. And another thing I like, too, about the structure of Celestial Park is because each of the entries into all of these worlds are portals. They're literally circular portals that you enter through like a door into these worlds. The only thing I could kind of compare it to, and this might seem like a crazy comparison, but Byron and I are big music fans. And, that's why we like visiting places like New Orleans or Nashville. And one of the things that's great about those places when it comes to music, live music in particular, is you walk down these lively streets and you hear music that's being played at various venues. And if you like what you hear, you go into that place. And Celestial Park is very similar in that you get a taste of what each of these worlds are like by just walking past the portal itself. For instance, you walk past Super Nintendo World, you see some of the Nintendo accoutrement. You see like
a little tease.
You see a little tease. You see some fountain, and you're like, okay, I could see what that world's going to be like. Maybe I don't want to do that right now. Mm-hmm. Dark Universe. You get every one of these things also has.
It's that sort of Nightmare Before Christmas, like the holiday, the paintings on the trees when you enter the holiday lands or whatever. Yeah. It's kind of like that.
And you have columns outside of them, like even like outside of the Harry Potter world, and you'll know this if you've covered the construction of the park. You have the Elder Wand column that's like right outside, and each of them just gives you a taste of what thematically you're going to be in for. I like that there is a hub that you could go to. It makes it very easy to navigate. I would be very surprised if there were any people that were lost in this park. It would be very hard to get lost in this park, in my opinion. And I think from that perspective, just a logistical kind of like, how do we move large groups of people around a park? They fucking nailed it. Like, just knocked it out of the park. And while also giving that hub, like you alluded to earlier in the podcast, an actual identity and a place that I want to spend some time with, whether it's like at the restaurants or like some of the breweries around, or even at the Constellation Carousel, which is in the center of it. It's amazing. And of course, Stardust Racers.
So, okay, we're doing attraction thoughts now.
Well, I mean,
thoughts, just
we're clearing each world. We started with Celestial. Let's start with Celestial, Stardust Racers.
And for whatever reason, if any of you listening or watching this are not familiar with any of the attraction names, we're bringing up the attraction names right now. We're just and the feelings that go with it. We won't get into the details of the attractions yet. But if you don't want to know the attraction names yet, then this might be a good time to sign off. I assume that's very few at this point. But,
yeah.
So when it comes to Stardust Racers, I'm over the moon about it. Not trying to get punny, but
I loved it, dude.
It's a phenomenal roller coaster.
It is in the conversation of best coaster in Florida, and definitely I would say even best coaster. Like I don't think it is the best coaster, but like it's among an elite group. The fact that a lot of people are already comparing it to Velocicoaster, that was a popular party line as we were walking around the park today, even among our VIP tour guide, of like, what do you guys think about this versus Velocicoaster, which is fun because they could compare against themselves. So, I mean, that's good. They've made two great coasters. The fact that it's even in that conversation is kind of indicative of where it stands. I went back and forth, honestly. Like at first, I wasn't sure if I liked it more than Velocicoaster. I think I liked Velocicoaster a little more, and then we rode it more, and the more I rode it, the more fun I had. It's a great coaster without going into detail of what you're in for. I mean, you could see the layout, honestly, because it's a coaster. It's an outdoor coaster. You could see it. It's not covered. Even just seeing it, you aren't quite able to predict some of the forces that you are experiencing on this coaster.
Yeah, and my big, like, actually, I don't want to say it's the biggest surprise that there was an effort in theming it, or at least keeping it in sync with the overall vibe and like emotional, like retraction or like whatever you get emotionally and how you feel with Celestial Park. It's consistent with that feeling. It adds to it, and it's just so beautifully designed.
Well, Celestial Park, to also keep going back to your point earlier about it having an identity, in order for that to be the case, it needed a marquee attraction. And Stardust Racers is that. It 1000% is that. And I think it's one of the reasons why, a park like Epic Universe, one of the things I was worried about is all these, kind of various dissonant worlds is I thought that maybe it would be kind of disjointed and it would feel like not a cohesive experience. And it didn't feel like that at all because Celestial Park was the glue that kind of held it all together. And I found myself looking forward to walking through Celestial Park to get to these other worlds. Like, as opposed to being like, oh, I gotta trudge through this part of the park now to get to Isle of Berk or something, all the way from, Dark Universe.
Yeah. I mean, even like as much as we love Main Street USA, for most of the regular average tourists, it's just hey, I'm just walking towards the castle.
Yeah.
This is nothing more than a pleasant entryway to bring me into better things.
Yes.
Where Celestial Park takes over the whole, it runs through the entire park.
Yeah.
And really feels like the beating heart of this place.
It does. And Stardust Racers is a big component of that, along with all like the kinetic energy features that we mentioned earlier, like the carousel and the water features. But yeah, it's a spectacular coaster. There's really no other way around it. The hype you've heard about this coaster is real. It's a very, very good roller coaster.
Highly exceeded my expectations.
I would agree with that.
It got more and more fun with each ride. I think we did it like 4 times.
Constellation Carousel, a lot of fun. We'll get more into the details of that because it's kind of hard to talk about that one from a non-spoiler point because there's not a lot to it. I had a very pleasant ride on it, and we were lucky enough to get the water show going on at the same time, which you get great views from this carousel of the entire Celestial Park, a 360 view. And if you're lucky enough to go when the water show is going, it's just a treat. I was really in theme park heaven.
And we didn't do everything you can do at Celestial Park. It's impossible to do it in one day because it seemed like an endless amount of shops, food offerings, places to get drinks.
Speaking of food, we did eat at what was the name of the food joint that we ate at? Do you remember?
It's the Oak and Star Tavern.
We ate at the Oak and Star Tavern.
We ate. Oh wait, we'll talk about it later.
Well, I mean, I will say the food there was. Oh God, is it crazy that I'm? Look, I am aware that what I'm saying is being taken with a grain of salt because, like I said, we were given a media preview, and it was a marvelous experience. But I genuinely felt like the food was very, very good. I thought it was excellent. Even I had a great time eating there, and Byron even said at one point, if they're somehow able to maintain this quality going forward in perpetuity, holy moly.
Really good.
And that's something that they had focused on in the marketing and the promo. They said that the food was going to be up to par, that it was going to be a level of excellence.
And let's be real. We were scheduled to eat there. Got to bring that up. Got to be fair.
Like I said, yes. That's fair.
That they were like, hey, we're giving them our A game, especially these for-your amusement guys.
For sure. But I will say that, put it this way, even some of the places that people love, at even like Disneyland, if they were told, hey, bring your A game today, how much more A game could you make a corn dog from the red car trolley? Or even Blue Bayou? I still think there's a limited ceiling still of what we know that food could be, and the ceiling that we saw today from this place, it was quite delicious. To be honest,
it seemed a little we were surprised. We first assumed that this was just not stuff that's going to be on their regular menu.
Yeah, we did. I did walk up to somebody who was serving us because they were serving us. I don't think this is a spoiler. They were serving us some 14-hour brisket, and I dumbly was like, "Hey, is this actually going to be on the menu for everybody?" And they were like, "Yeah, actually, there's a menu over there." And I was like, "Oh, look at that! The first item on the menu." And it was.
And you know what?
Very good.
That brisket was better than 80 to 90% of the brisket we have in Southern California.
In Los Angeles, which I know is not saying a lot. We're not known for our brisket. Byron and I are big fans of brisket over in Texas. We've had the big boys down there. I think that's fair to say. And if you want to know where my taste aligns, I love Terry Black's.
Terry Black's. I ride hard for Terry Black's.
Franklin's, everyone is on that.
I love Franklin's. It's a lot. It's such a long wait that I'm like, all right, Terry Black's it is.
And Byron and I are very big fans of Heritage. over in
See,
the OC.
that's my favorite in Southern California.
I think Heritage is better, but that's not, it's not a theme park restaurant.
No,
I think the fact that this is like still better than most places that I could get in Los Angeles.
I was thinking, how the fuck are they doing 14-hour brisket
It's
in a
crazy.
theme park?
It's absurd.
That's nuts. And it's good,
It's
too.
very good.
14-hour smoked brisket.
The brisket's good, man.
We got some herb chicken here, cauliflower, and the mac. And a happy guy.
The brisket's legitimately very good.
Once again, this is like, I'm sure a lot of love went into the
Hey,
specific
man.
brisket we had. If they could uphold that, holy cow.
Even,
We'll see.
like I said, the fact that they were even able to attain that level of it is crazy to me.
Really good.
So I thought that was fantastic. And
You
then
gotta appreciate that they're going for it. And they're really expanding on the horizons of, universal, culinary endeavors.
I mean, it's like it's a very common adage for a reason. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And they very clearly, across the board, were like, we are striving for excellence. Whether or not we hit it is up to you. But that is what we're striving for. And you could tell. You could definitely tell. And I appreciate that. If I'm spending my money to come down to Orlando and, dropping it on the hotel and the park tickets, I want to know that you're trying your very best. And it is very clear that they are trying their best. And with that, let's move to Dark Universe, because
That was the first portal that we walked through.
oh my god, dude!
Did you expect that to be the first one that we would go to?
No, and the fact because that was the one I was
once again, for
obvi-
context, we didn't get to choose. We
No.
were on a set tour.
They
and
brought
that
us
just
there.
so happened to be the first.
It was
portal.
amazing. I mean, look, everyone who knows my background, other than talking about theme parks, I host a ghost hunting show. I'm very much into the horror genre. That was my jam, so to speak. I was looking forward to Dark Universe and visiting Darkmoor more than anywhere else in the park, and we went there first. And good lord,
General thoughts.
oh boy, general thoughts. I thought they nailed. Here's the thing. My worries about Dark Universe going in were I love actual scary content. And here is a theme park making a year-round scary world, land, whatever you want to call it. They're going to have to appease a lot of different crowds because it has to be somewhat family-friendly, but it also has to feed the horror hounds like myself. I thought they miraculously walked the tight wire and just nailed the target there. Like I thought the tone was consistent throughout the land, and it was a hard tone to hit too. I thought it was appropriately funny where it needed to be, and I thought it had legitimate scares where you needed legitimate scares, and also in a way where you could steer your younger children away from like the scarier things if you wanted to. And if you want to, step into the fear zone, they delivered. It's the world building of it was also amazing. Like obviously we're there on media day. I imagine it's going to be very similar though when the park opens. It was teeming with life. We encountered a lot of characters. We'll get into which characters we encountered in the spoiler portion of this episode, but let's just say they brought it. We had some very fun interactions. The architecture, the buildings, it felt like a lived-in little village. I loved it. And everything was just, I don't know, thematically linked together, and we'll get into more of it later, obviously, but I loved this land. It was the one I was looking forward to the most, also the one I was kind of worried about, because it's such a hard target to hit.
That's a tightrope you got to walk.
And they nailed it. They absolutely nailed it. Curse the Werewolf, thoughts?
I mean, if anyone is familiar with the episode of anticipated
Yeah.
Epic Universe attractions, this sits exactly where I had it. That's all I have to say is, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I think some people are going to have a lot of fun. For me, it's, I'll be honest, it's there.
It's there. It's good to fill out the land. Take from that what you will.
Mm-hmm.
Monsters Unchained. Dude.
I mean, it is what, we've heard through the grapevines. It's a phenomenal ride. There's no ride like it, obviously.
There's no ride like it. That is for sure.
at least for what they're bringing to the table in terms of characters and just overall dark tone.
Mm-hmm.
It's a super expensive and innovative ride dedicated to horror monsters.
It does things I have not seen rides do. It's massive, an absolutely massive ride.
And I will say it sits with you.
Oh yeah, it does.
The essence of this ride, like, it sits with you, like, even now, like, it grows on me, and I think I like it more and more the more I think of it.
No, I agree. I think you could generally say this is going to sound crazy, and you know, as the kids say, they're going to accuse me of glazing, and I'm not trying to glaze here, but I think, wow, I really do think I think it might legitimately. I think it might legitimately be the best dark ride in the world. I saw somebody say that on Blue Sky, and I was like, that person is lost in the sauce. And then I got off it, and all I heard was that ringing in my head. By the way, when you hear something like that and you go into the ride, your bar is incredibly high. And mine was. Unfortunately, I'd heard that, and I went in, and I now know that I am setting that bar for you who are listening to this, and I feel very confident. I'm willing to stake my whatever little reputation and credibility I have on. It might be. I want some more time to think about it, but boy, oh boy, it is really, really good. And once again, this is very much my jam. It fits exactly my interests in the genre I like, but it's very good. It's very, very good. I think it might be the best dark ride in the world, maybe the best ride in the world.
We rode it once, so I personally can't.
I wanted to get on it a second time so bad.
Yeah, this isn't a spoiler, but we weren't able to get on it a second time later. They had to shut it down early. The monsters had to take a nap.
They did have to take a nap. It was only an hour before park closing, but yeah, you know, that may be one of the things. It could have some issues staying up. But could have probably said that better. But anyways, we didn't experience Burning Blade Tavern from the inside. We did from the outside. Really cool. One of the more cool visual things I've ever seen in a theme park. We'll get into the details later. We didn't go into Das Boot Steakhouse.
Das Boot.
Which I
That's
wanted to go.
That's not the real name, by the way.
What is it? What is Das Steakhouse, right?
Just Das Steakhouse.
It's Das Boot Steakhouse. We didn't go into there. I wanted to see it, but we didn't have time. And that was Dark Universe. Next, we went to the Wizarding World Ministry of Magic. First off, I'm a huge fan of Paris, just as a city. My wife went, and I went there for our first wedding anniversary. Loved the city, fell in love with the city. And, you know, take it from this foreigner who visited the place one time, but I thought they did a pretty good job of at least attempting to represent it in an authentic way in terms of like the facades and the architecture. Obviously, nothing's going to be like the real city, but in terms of like recreating it, I thought they did a pretty damn good job. It's once again, the scale is enormous in every single one of these lands. I think I had heard from a team member today that the shortest building in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter Ministry of Magic is still taller than the tallest building in Diagon Alley.
Yeah, that makes sense. This one is built completely to scale. Diagon Alley, I believe, is more three-quarter scale.
Three-quarter scale, yeah. So this
it's stunning.
I mean, it really is. And you know, it has a show, which is we could talk about that. I loved the show. Not a lot of people were talking about this show. It was frankly not on my radar before
I didn't know this show really existed until this weekend, I'm going to be honest.
And it was great.
And
my favorite show of the park.
We happened to stumble into someone at Dark Universe that was like, "Oh, I hope you check out this show. I worked on it."
Yeah.
And it's like, "Oh, okay, we check out this show." And I'm glad we got to go check out that show. It was really good.
It was a great tip. Good tip. Go see the show.
A great surprise. And once again, I feel like shows like live theater type shows are kind of in short supply now.
A dying art,
park.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
it's cool that there are a couple of those shows in this park, and we'll get to the other one later. But before that, I mean, What about Battle of the Ministry? I mean, that's the big e-ticket for this land.
Yes.
We didn't expect to get on this.
No, we did not. We fully came prepared to not.
It seemed like the Universal team was able to call an audible, and we had a tight window to get in there and experience it. And
the theme park gods smiled upon us. By the way, the show, amazing. Still not better than my beloved Waterworld, a SeaWorld Spectacular, which is the best live action show in existence. It's very good though. There's a lot of tricks and really cool visuals in this show that you guys are gonna love, I think. But moving on to the Ministry of Magic. Everybody has heard from Universal themselves that this is going to be a game changer. There's nothing like it in the world. There's 1,000% nothing like this in the world. That is without a doubt. You could say that it is a feat that they accomplished. Is it going to be a game changer? I don't know. I don't know because it's a brand new ride system, frankly. Like it kind of is and it kind of isn't. We could get into that in the specifics later if you want to get into that after we get into spoiler territory. But they definitely pulled something off that no one has before. I just don't know if anyone else is going to implement said feat in their own stuff. That's my very not eloquent way of saying that I was incredibly impressed by it. I don't know if it's going to be a game changer in the sense of like people are going to be replicating this, but it may be a game changer in the sense of like people are going to continue to try and push the envelope. I will also say that while I do think it is an incredible attraction and legitimately could lay claim to the title of best ride in the world, there is going to be a fair amount of folks that are going to get motion sick on this ride. In fact, there was one person in our group who did get motion sick. I almost got a little queasy at one point, but I held it in like a champ.
What do you think? Worse than Forbidden Journey in terms of motion sickness?
I would say on par.
I felt because I get pretty motion sick on Forbidden Journey. I thought this was a step down, but I don't think this was as bad. But I did feel like okay, some people are gonna have a tough time with this one. I think I did okay, but
so I guess like I think it's on par with Forbidden Journey. I get slightly queasy on Forbidden Journey, but it's never really too big of a problem. Like it doesn't ruin the rest of my day. I quickly recover even in the moment. That's where I fall on the spectrum of motion sickness. So do that with that what you will. But if I were to describe this attraction to somebody, I would say, first off, you have to do it. You can't miss this. It's incredible. There's nothing like it. And secondly, if you get motion sick, I would do it last. Because then maybe, if you're very sick after, you just go home. That's what I would say. I think that's fair. No?
Yeah, it might be worth the risk.
No, I know 1,000%. If you can't go to this park and not get on this ride, it's so good.
I loved this ride.
I did too.
I don't know how it'll age exactly, and like maybe we were just riding that wave of excitement because we didn't expect to get on this ride, so it felt like this very rushed. Oh my gosh, we're getting this. We just didn't expect to get this, and like it was just the surprises and what have you. But I was loving this ride.
I'm going to ask you the question. It's the burning question that everyone's probably wondering right now. Is it better than Monsters Unchained?
I gotta say,
which, by the way, I just want to point out before you answer it, kind of amazing that it's such a fun, almost like debate now of these two rides. Is it better than this one or that one? The fact that they're in the same park is wild.
Yes. So I will say this. Initially, when I got off this ride, I was more stoked about it than Monsters Unchained.
Wow.
Yet, over the course of the day, there is something about Monsters Unchained that just kept growing on me. And that feeling, there's just something to be said about that. Not to say, I will say that Battle at the Ministry, both these rides have this kind of tone, this like sort of like mature, like they almost feel like the dark sequel of rides.
Like your Temple of Doom, if you will, to Raiders. Yeah. I don't know.
Even this Harry Potter ride, which and I was blown away by it. I think maybe it's just from like a geek standpoint that I just had never.
Yeah.
I just had never been on a ride system like that before, and I didn't know, like, I was just overwhelmed with like what was going on, and so I think in the moment I just had like a major high getting off that ride. But I think I do have to lean, for longevity's sake. I think Monsters Unchained is going to take this one.
Yeah, and I will say right after I got off Ministry, because we did them back to back, Monsters and Ministry, which is, by the way, the fact that our first rides on both of these Titans now, they're going to be considered Titans, heads up. There's not going to be anybody who's going to be able to say that these aren't arguably the best rides in the world. The fact that we were able to do them back to back is incredibly lucky. So I'm just forever grateful for that experience, frankly. But I will say that after I got off Ministry, I think I even turned to you and I immediately said, Monsters is better.
Yeah, but that's also your bread and butter.
It is my bread and butter, and as time went on, as they both aged in my mind, Monsters undoubtedly, I think, is better.
I think I agree. I really wanted the second ride on Monsters to confirm it.
Oh boy,
because that's where my heart was like kind of leading.
It'll live
where
in
I'm
our
like, I think just because I like the recency bias kind of thing, and just the whole situation.
Yeah,
going into Ministry was just so exciting.
It'll live in our mind palace for now until we're able to go again.
What's crazy is that you could interchange depending on someone's opinion. They are in the same league, I feel like. Could you say that?
I think so, and I think the 1, 2, 3 of Monsters, Ministry of Magic, and Stardust Racers is absolutely bananas.
Yeah.
And perhaps the best 1, 2, 3 in theme parks.
So,
which is
what you're suggesting.
Okay.
Is 2 dark rides that anyone could easily put into the top 10 dark rides on the planet, potentially.
Oh, they would easily put them in the top 3, in my opinion.
I don't
top
know.
5. Okay, no, top 5. Maybe I don't want to go that crazy. I want to say top 3, but I'll say top 5 to hedge.
I wouldn't rule it out, but I could see people I could see plenty of people, picking a few over it.
Sure.
So you got these 2 elite dark rides.
Yeah.
Highly innovative, well-themed storylines, cues, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And then you've got a kick-ass roller coaster.
Yeah.
That is immediately, from an attraction standpoint, from a ride standpoint, a quick foundation for success in a theme park.
Yeah.
Especially since we brought up that this does have an identity. Celestial Park does kick ass. And now we're kind of left with, all right, now does that check off all the boxes? Do we have stuff with the kids that the kids are going to love? And that takes us to Isle of Berg.
And I was about to say, you would think, oh, wow, you're saying that this is maybe the best 1, 2, 3 in theme parks, but it's not better than Disneyland, so it must be a very top-heavy park. And I don't believe that's actually the case. It's just people forget how stacked Disneyland is in terms of a lineup. And we're talking just like the rides that are in that park, not the resort. Like, if you're talking pound for pound lineup of a theme park, Epic Universe's 1, 2, 3 is crazy, and the rest are still very good. There's just not as many rides as like a Disneyland right now. Because Disneyland's, oh man, it's even hard to beat. What is Disneyland's 1, 2, 3 off the top of your head? You got Rise, you got Indy, and then you're probably putting in there.
You could throw in a Space Mountain.
You could throw a Space Mountain. You could throw in Haunted. You could throw in
a Pirates.
You could throw in a Pirates if you're more of a purist.
A lot of people really love Mickey Minnie. I do.
Mickey and Minnie is also great. I mean, it's
some people throw Big Thunder, and they got so many damn rides at that park. It's ridiculous.
I'm taking Epic's 1, 2, 3 though. I am. I'm sorry. I am. That's recency, maybe. Sure. Whatever. Let's go into Isle of Berg. I'm not trying to be bombastic here, but I mean, that's just how I feel right now on, April 5th, 2025.
Yeah. And I mean, it's also important to note that from a thrill standpoint, obviously Epic goes places that Disneyland cannot.
And does not.
And I think that kind of works in Epic's favor.
It does.
Because they also, this came as a surprise to me, is they also have attractions that appease the younger crowds, but as well as the older crowds as well.
Yeah, if you want to talk about a land that nails it in terms of undoubtedly it will be fun for adults, but it will also be fun for kids. Let's go to Isle of Berg.
That was the next one we did.
Isle of Berg.
We went to Isle of Berg.
First off, the biggest world, legitimate, like genuinely, it is the biggest world in Epic Universe in terms of just size. And
do we know that square footage? It feels that way.
It is. Yeah, that Rich told us that today. So shout out to Rich. But it is, and it's apparent immediately. You walk in, and the scale of this world is crazy. It stretches for even like what you see when you first enter. There's more tucked away in corners,
and there's just layers building its way back.
And I would say of all the lands, or the worlds rather, it's probably the most alive, even more so than Dark Universe. Like, it feels like a legitimate community.
It's bustling.
It's crazy. And some of the meet and greet opportunities that they have here, we'll get into them later in more detail, but it's going to be hard to top it. Like, if you're looking at Galaxy's Edge and like being like, wow, I wish it had a little bit more life. I wish it had more characters.
I had this same exact thought while walking through this land.
This is everything that you wanted that to be.
It really is. It's almost as if someone like looked at Galaxy's Edge when it opened and been like, how do we do all this stuff that feels like it's missing in this land?
Yeah, I mean,
and they did it. And it's like, once again, I don't want to spoil things, but just everywhere you look in this land, there is energy. There are things moving around, things to do.
It's gorgeous,
characters to see.
It's gorgeous.
The colors pop, the terrain, the water,
it's
the music. It is. I think this is going to go down as one of the best lands ever created.
I think it was. We knew this going in, that it was kind of a sleeper. So we knew that, and even still, it delivered. And even some of the smaller attractions in this land, I have to give props here, because they utilize a pretty small footprint for some of these, like, not S tier attractions. And they got really creative with how they used this land, and every ride in this land is very, very unique, very creative, and very enjoyable,
and designed to appease you whether or not you're on it.
Exactly. Yes, that's a great point. Great to look at, great to ride. It's it's a great world. It might be my second favorite world in the entire park, honestly, after Dark Universe. And I could see why people would have it won.
I have it won.
I get it.
I have it won.
Let's just quickly go through some of the.
Now, we didn't go to Dark Universe at night.
No, we did not, and that's
it did close at 7 today. That could very well change things.
That shit is going to wreck you.
But right now,
man.
I am all about Isle of Berg. I was blown away by that land.
Moving quickly through the lineup, we saw the show, The Untrainable Dragon. I was like, okay on this show.
I think I enjoyed it more than you.
I found my mind wandering a little bit. I think I was clearly not the target audience. It was very much more kid-centric. There are some show-stopping moments. It is beautiful. The production design and production, I guess, just quality.
To me, it really filled the void that we're missing at California Adventure with the Hyperion Theater.
Yeah, no, I would say that's a very good way.
I was itching for like kind of that Broadway production value type of show, and it was cool to get it again.
Yeah, if any of you were fans of Aladdin or even the Captain America musical, I would say this is on par, if not better. I would say it's on par at the very least.
I loved Aladdin.
I loved Aladdin too. Mm-hmm. I think Aladdin was great. I don't think it. No, you're saying that. I think Aladdin's still a little better. But in terms of some of the show-stopping moments, yeah, it's pretty great. But I would say I came away from it kind of lukewarm, honestly.
That's fair. I do kind of agree. I think they play to a younger crowd from a story standpoint.
It's not for me.
So I had to kind of take a look within and be like, oh wait, yeah.
And it's not for me in the sense it's not made for me. That's what I'm saying.
They gotta play it down a little bit for the kiddos. It goes into some
man.
potential
adult man.
cheeseball territory. But I was pleased with the show.
So the show was okay. The meet and greets, like I said, were spectacular. Probably
Oh man, those meet and greets.
I think it might be the best meet and greet ever made. Frankly,
are you usually a meet and greet type
No.
of? No, I mean
no. One of the guides was just like, normally meet and greets are love and shove,
that's
which is just like you come in, you get your picture, you get
out of here.
you fuck off after that.
Yeah,
But-
here's the cash for your cab or whatever.
Exactly. But this one, they really let you interact with these characters, and the characters we'll get into later in the spoiler portion of this episode. But
And because of that, you sure as hell are gonna wait.
oh boy, you
and
will be
wait
waiting.
and
But
wait for
will-
this interaction.
I will say, like, when you, like, for instance, no shade, but when you're waiting 30, 40 minutes to meet Mickey Mouse, that's going to be a beautiful memory for your kid. They're going to love it. They're going to remember it forever. You as an adult will love that your kid loves it, but you as an adult are not going to feel anything emotionally by seeing Mickey Mouse, I would imagine. The meet and greet that they have concocted over here, you will feel things, guaranteed. I saw a woman in this meet and greet who had no children. She was there with what appeared to be her family that were all, I want to say they were mid to late 50s. I don't know if you noticed this, Byron. She was crying. She had like tears in her eyes because it was so moving. And I don't blame her. It was, that's going to sound ridiculous and I'm probably going to be clipped. Whatever. You go to this thing, you'll know what I'm talking about. Very good. Moving on to Fire Drill. Nothing crazy here. I thought it was incredibly creative and just super fun.
It's different. It definitely exceeded my expectations. More on that later.
I agree. Moving on to what the fuck is the name of the racers ride?
Dragon Racers Rally.
Moving on to Dragon Racers Rally. This was the ride that Byron really was looking forward to, and I actually had it as my dishonorable mention in terms of rides I am not looking forward to because it just looked like a carnival ride on first glance. I was wrong. I think I was wrong.
Yeah.
I'll admit it. I was not excited to go on this to the moment that we got into the loading zone, and then it kind of got explained to me more what it was and what you could do with it, and I stand corrected. I think it's very creative in terms of the use of space and what they're trying to do. It's like a brain teaser IRL, like in terms of using your whole body.
And you know what I will say? I don't think this is a spoiler at all, actually, but I thought that the biggest detriment to this ride would be that it was an eyesore in the park or in the land.
I thought so too. I thought it cheapened the land, and I was wrong too there.
No, it's perfectly positioned.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
Especially because of the narrative of it, the story of it fits into the land of what the land represents. Like I said, it's quite good. Also, the weenie of this land is the food hall, which just shows you like, let's just then put it on the table. Like, we're going to make this beautiful structure. This is where you get your food. Have a taste. And then moving on to Hiccup's Wing Gliders. This is going to be the gateway, the new standard for gateway drugs for children and coasters, in my opinion. This is going to make coaster enthusiasts from scratch.
Yeah, they crushed this ride.
It's so good.
I loved it. It was so much more than I expected for whatever reason.
And we both had it high on our list of rides that we were anticipating too.
It's very fun. Once again, so fun to see this when you're not on the ride. Even more fun when you're on the ride. It's going to work for all sorts of ages, grown-ups and kids alike.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess more on this one later. I think Hagrid's is still on another level.
Oh, no.
There's just nothing that touches Hagrid's.
Not in the same conversation.
But as long as this thing isn't getting the 3-hour waits that Hagrid's is consistently, this is just going to be a knockout for families.
And I could actually see a world in which kids from the 3 to 8-year-old range will actually like this ride more than Hagrid's, frankly.
That's a bold statement.
How is that bold? I mean, thinking about some of the Hagrid's has a little more thrill than that might be suitable for that age range, in my opinion.
You don't like Hagrid's Bag of Tricks though is pretty damn awesome.
No, but there are
Do you
still
think a kid may not appreciate that as much? You think, or
no? Because there's certain elements of Hagrid's that are a little spooky, and there
Fair.
also are some thrill elements that are, that ride is legitimately a thrill ride for
I
adults.
can see. Yeah, That's fair. At least from a
3 to 8.
thematic standpoint, from like an IP standpoint.
And also just like the physics of what forces you're putting the riders through. This ride, I think, is like Hagrid's for that age range.
Dude,
and it's still good for adults.
It's coaster crack for kids. It should be illegal.
It's insane. Like I've
coaster crack for me. And
I've had the privilege of taking my nephews who are of that age range on also all of their first rides. I had it was one of my more treasured memories of taking my nephew on his first roller coaster. And if this was my nephew's first roller coaster, it would be insane. I couldn't imagine a better one to do that for. Like, for me, that was Gadgets Go Coaster in Toontown growing up. This is like the new modern version of a Gadgets Go Coaster.
Shit's bricks on Gadgets Go Coaster.
Yeah, dude, it will get
nothing
into
against Gadgets Go Coaster.
No,
that
I love
was our
Gadgets Go
gateway.
Coaster.
There's it's special place in my heart.
No, and we'll get into that more in the spoilers, which are coming soon here because we only have one more world left. But that does it for Isle of Berk. Fantastic. And finishing off at Super Nintendo World, almost kind of like, in a weird way, almost feels like the afterthought of this park because it's featured in Japan, and then we also have it now in Hollywood, albeit in different versions.
For Orlando locals, or honestly anyone outside of the Osaka area and obviously Southern California, because we have it at Universal Hollywood, we have for a couple of years now. I feel like this would be, higher on someone's priority list. It wasn't very high on ours. So
there are versions of it elsewhere where the other worlds, that's the juicy exclusive Epic Universe. This is not that.
Yeah. But considering we have had plenty of experiences with our own version of Super Nintendo World in Hollywood.
We haven't been to the Japan one though.
No, and I think that's a closer, I guess that's closer to what this is.
Yes.
But I gotta say that since we did have exposure to Nintendo World, this was the land I was least excited to see.
Same.
So that we had to do it last.
Yeah.
Was kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, we do have to go do the Nintendo World.
We have to go do it. You're acting like you're clocking in for a shift in the salt mines.
Nah, yeah, I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, personally, like, if I wanted to progress toward, like, newer and exciting things, I wouldn't have put Nintendo World as the finale.
I have to say, though, I have not been to the Japan one. I know the scale of that one is larger than the one in Hollywood, and I know it's very similar in terms of the scale of the Orlando one, Japan and Orlando, that is. So this was my first time seeing Nintendo World at that scale, and I have to say, walking in, having only experienced Universal Studios Hollywood, I was kind of blown away by the reveal of when you walk out of the portal in Super Nintendo World. And maybe that's because I went in with such low expectations, but I found myself much more blown away and excited by this land than I would have thought I would have been.
Yeah.
Was that similar to you?
And I think we were blown away the first time we saw it in Hollywood, too.
We were. That's true.
But
You're right.
it was instant as soon as we walked into this iteration of that land that, this is what they always intended it to be. And our version was like, hey, this is the only way we can make it happen in Hollywood. Hats
very
off to
similar
them.
to
They were able to
Mummies.
pull it off. Was that?
It's very similar to Mummies. Universal Orlando's Revenge of the Mummy versus Hollywood's Revenge of the Mummy. Very similar in terms of like, this is what they wanted to do, and it felt that way.
Yeah, blown away with the reveal of entering Super Nintendo World here at Epic Universe.
Yeah.
And obviously they have a whole other portion with another attraction that we do not have. They have two other attractions
that we don't have.
That we do not have at ours. We just have Mario Kart.
We don't have the space.
That being said, we didn't ride Mario Kart.
We did not, because this was also the portion of the day where we were not with the guided tour. So we did not have time to ride Mario Kart, and it was the one where like, okay, we have that at home. Quite literally, we have that at home. So we didn't do that. But we did do Yoshi, which was, we could start there. Delightful. I loved it.
You loved it? You loved the Yoshi?
I did have that in my anticipated attractions because I was like, this could be Super Nintendo World's People Mover. And I think
lived up to that for you?
No, it did not.
Okay.
I think if it moved, I want to say if it moved. You know what? I'll get into the. It's a slow ride. Let's just put it that way, and we'll get into the spoilers later. But I wish it moved a mile per hour or two faster. Now I'm realizing I wish it moved a mile per hour. I don't think it actually moves 1 mile per hour, but it's still a delightful little ride. Kids are gonna love this. You get a great vantage point of the land. Enough said. It's fun. It is what it is. It's not gonna, no one's gonna be talking about it if you're not like a.
It does a thing. It's low risk. Yeah, I do think it's better it's there than it's not than if it was not. So
I think, and it's usually based on today's wait times. It's running a low wait all day, easy to get on. I think you should do it. Which brings us to Minecart Madness. This is the one I would say that generated actually weirdly maybe the most buzz in general. I think outside of theme park Twitter. Because people, the Donkey Kong property and seeing like a ride that like visually seems to break the laws of physics, is going to generate some buzz. That being said, this ride is going. It's going to have some issues. It was having issues a lot of the day. That's been kind of what's been going on with it in terms of just downtime. The capacity is probably not going to be great on this ride. It wasn't great today, and it hasn't been. So you're going to be looking at some long wait times. We waited about an hour for it because it broke down 1.5 times. So just prepare for that. But all that being said, this ride got kind of pooped on a little bit. It seems like by people who rode it in Japan.
Also, just people that didn't ride it
and they saw the POV.
They watched POVs.
They watched POVs, yeah, and they didn't actually ride it themselves.
We did not watch a POV.
I don't like watching POVs before I ride a ride. I think you should ride a ride for yourself. Everything is always different in person. Formulate your opinion from there. That's how I do things. So, but I went in knowing that a lot of people did not like this ride or do not like this ride, and I think that helped. Because my expectations were so low and it snuck up on me. I really enjoyed this ride, honestly. I was surprised.
It exceeded my expectations.
Me too.
I thought there was more to it than for whatever. I think also, honestly, the negative feedback that people were bringing up, honestly, I think helped because it brought my expectations down. And then I was very pleased with the experience.
I
had fun.
I enjoy it more than Mario Kart, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Mario Kart. I think it's a fine ride. I don't think it's a proper e-ticket. I don't know if this is a proper e-ticket
I think
either.
for some it is. Yeah.
Would you say it's an e-ticket? I think it's a solid D.
I'd go. I think for families it's an E.
Interesting.
I think kids are gonna really dig this ride.
I don't think it's got enough to be that for me.
You think so?
I do think for what it is.
Maybe a D is fair.
I think a D is more fair. If you go in expecting a D ticket, you'll be having a good time. You go in expecting an E, like most people did for this ride and also Mario Kart, I think you're going to be a little disappointed. Mm-hmm. So,
from an aesthetic standpoint, looks awesome.
Oh, beautiful ride. And the land is great. I love that Donkey Kong. Me.
It's a really cool land. It feels like an extra land.
It does.
In the Nintendo land, and that's really neat.
It's a land within a land, and then you get to see a monkey who loves only wearing a tie, which is very fun. And he loves his bananas, which you all know if you're a fan of this pod. You know I love that big pile of bananas, which I did see in person, by the way. I got a picture of it. We can put it up. It's very good. It's awesome. But yeah, this I love Donkey Kong. Loved his little land. Made me want to drink a nice little Mai Tai or something. Very tropical. I think that might conclude our general thoughts, and that we talked for an hour and a little like over an hour. Let's get into some spoilers and see where this takes us. It is now 11:10 p.m. We're actually going to another theme park tomorrow morning because we're addicts. And I don't know if either of us anticipated we would be talking this long, but then you get us in front of a mic and you want us to talk theme parks. It's hard to stop.
Yeah.
So let's get into some spoilers, and I'm going to now put on the Cat in the Hat, and and just start dancing around.
The spoiler hat. The spoiler hat is on. Let the spoilers commence. In 3, 2, 1. Why are you still dancing?
Okay.
All right. Which one do we start with?
Let's just go right back through it again. Stardust Racers.
Okay. Stardust Racers, Celestial Park.
Constellation Carousel, actually, if we're starting just proper, Celestial Park, there's really not more spoilers that you could say about the land. It's beautiful. There's a water show. The Helios looks fantastic as a backdrop of the land. Constellation Carousel, like we had mentioned before when we covered it.
And Helios being like the beautiful hotel that is the backdrop for this park. And you may think, oh, really? A hotel is like the backdrop?
It's fantastic.
Of this park? It is gorgeous, especially in person. And just, yeah, once again, how lush everything is.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the plants and trees and stuff have grown in much more than I thought they would at this point.
Yeah.
Looks gorgeous. We talked about, fountains and water.
Yeah.
And it all works. I guess you don't need a traditional weenie. Just having that beautiful structure of a hotel as the backdrop to your park. I had no complaints.
And they actually let us see the hotel too, with media, and we got to see inside the rooms and see the park view, which is spectacular. Perhaps it's the greatest park view in parks, honestly. And I haven't been into the Miracosta over at Tokyo Disney Sea, but I've been to the Grand Californian, and I'll tell you, it's the views and the amenities you get here are pretty damn good. I think Grand Californian, from what I saw, is still a better hotel overall, but in terms of what you're given and the park that it is attached to, it's going to be pretty hard to top this hotel. But moving on to the Constellation Carousel, yeah, it's a carousel, but it also has a turntable on top of a turntable.
Carousels within a carousel.
There's like 3 turntables.
Carousception.
Exactly. There's 3 turntables that rotate independently of the overall carousel turntable that it's all sitting on. So like there are some cases in which you are spinning on top of spinning. Not in a fast way, in a pleasurable way that I very much enjoyed synced to music. I had a really good time on this. Like I said, offers great views of the hub of the park and also the water show if you're lucky enough for that. Stardust Racers. Oh, do you have anything on Constellation Carousel, actually?
I will say not everyone looked super thrilled.
No.
This was also kind of later in the day, and it looked like some people might have been writing it out of obligation or just kind of realizing, you know what? I told Ryan, I'm like, you know what? This is very pleasant.
It's incredibly
I
pleasant.
wouldn't expect anything more than pleasant, and since we are in spoiler territory at this point, I will say they changed the songs up.
They do.
The song that they played for us was very, very different.
Yeah, the one before that was kind of like a club beat. And then ours was like a fantastic.
We had this beautiful, like kind of
orchestral. Mm-hmm. There was a gentleman that we was riding on with us. He seemed to be by himself, probably around 40-ish years old. I don't think he actually moved a muscle the entire time he was on the carousel, not in his body or his face. I almost thought he was a mannequin.
Yeah, this is not a thrilling ride. Honestly, this thing is less thrilling than King Arthur's carousel. I think it moves slower than that one.
Oh, it definitely does. But it's unique in the setting, in the terms of the setting and some of the motion it does.
And the views. The views are great.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, the setting is incredible. Stardust Racers, though. Boy, oh boy.
Yeah. So while this carousel is very calm, this ride fucking rips.
Dude, this ride fucks.
Do you remember what that guy in the train next to us said when we hit the brake run?
Yeah. So when we were in line for this, there was a gentleman who.
I thought it was when we finished the ride because we dueled with them and we both hit the brakes and he looked over at our train.
He didn't look over at our train. He looked down at the people waiting in the loading zone, the people that were about to get on the ride, and he pointed at one person. Oh, no. He was not part of the media, I'll say that. He looked and he pointed and he went, "This ride ain't fucking around."
And you know what? He was right.
He's right. This ride does not fuck around. They should put that in the marketing. Because this ride is crazy. I think, Byron, you would know more as the resident coaster head of this podcast. Where does it fit in the pantheon of dueling coasters?
Oof. It's my favorite dueling coaster.
That's what I was hearing. This
is, I've, even in a world where Twisted Colossus does a duel on every ride, I still would take this, I think, over... No, not even I think. I would take this over Twisted Colossus.
I agree. I would too.
And I love Twisted Colossus.
Easy. And I also think, people comparing it to Velocicoaster, they're both different kinds of coasters. I could see why people would have Velocicoaster over this, which I do. I would see why people have Stardust. And honestly, I don't know, man. It really is aging well in my head. And it is funny that it's coming down to Mach versus Intamin. Mach being Stardust and Velocicoaster being Intamin.
Yeah, I think someone actually told me today. It was really funny that Mach really imitated Intamin well on this one, didn't they?
It's really good, dude.
For me, it felt like, gosh, I'm trying to think of what to compare it to. I don't know, man. This ride is super fun. Mach crushed this ride.
It's an incredibly efficient coaster. It does not waste any of its track at all. There's not really any dead zones or uninteresting parts of it that you would consider filler. It's just solid thrill the entire time.
The pacing is terrific.
It's so good.
Start to finish, there's just no dead zone. It just rips all the way through.
Celestial Spin.
The Celestial Spin, come on.
It's crazy that a lot of their marketing efforts for a ride were kind of marketed towards coaster enthusiasts, to be honest, saying there's an element in here called the Celestial Spin. I was thinking to myself, that's not going to get the average tourist to come here. They don't care. But now I could see why they made such a big deal of it, because it doesn't exist anywhere else, first off. Secondly, it really is thrilling to watch that. I think what people don't realize with a racing coaster is there is something that happens inside of your brain when you're on a racing coaster where you are able to see another train quite literally doing the same things as you, which adds a different level of context when you're on the ride. And I think it makes the ride feel more thrilling and more digestible, and you're understanding the things you are actually doing in terms of maneuvers, which sometimes you could get a little lost in that of what is actually happening to my body right now. Seeing another train for most of the ride.
It's basically the entire ride.
There's parts where it feels like you could touch the other train.
Oh yeah, there's a part I almost felt tempted to put my hands down.
Speaking of hands, head choppers, hand choppers for days.
And the entire ride, you're dueling and you're weaving up and over each other, running alongside each other's. It's just majestic, beautiful, just hoot and holler of a ride. The ejector airtime on this.
There are 3 legitimate ejector hills where I felt like I was going to get yeeted into the sun. One of which is damn, this is Velocicoaster top hat level ejector.
I've got to be honest with you. I think there were more moments of impressive airtime on this than Velocicoaster.
I might agree with you,
especially in the back row. But we did the front row too,
and it was still great airtime.
We were still great, and it's just it's intense ejector airtime.
And we did get on this ride 4 times. So we were very, very... Yes. I know I was very, very much in an analytical mindset on those last couple rides of I really want to just kind of analyze these elements as they're happening. And yeah, I agree.
And there's 2 different sides, so you get 2 slightly different experiences.
Slightly, yes.
I think we overall preferred the green side.
We definitely preferred the green side.
That would be the right side if you are walking down to the station, the track on the right side.
For sure. And I know we're in the spoiler section, but I don't even want to spoil too much, because I'll just say that these launches are not what... They're great. That we're in a world of launching roller coasters right now, and there could be some fatigue there. There is a fresh take on it in this ride. That
this resort has 3 great launch coasters.
That's right.
Being Hulk, Velocicoaster, and Stardust Racers. The best launch I think is Stardust Racers.
Stardust Racers. It has the best launch.
It's not even as fast of a launch as Velocicoaster.
I agree.
But for those of you, we don't bring it up. I think just you go on it, you're gonna find out why.
Okay, and I will say this for you folks out there, you'll probably ask, "Oh, what do you think about it compared to King Dakar or Top Thrill 2?" We haven't been on either of those. Top Thrill 2, no one's really been on that.
No, this is such a different ride, though.
No, but I'm talking about the launch. The launch.
Oh, the launch, yeah.
You could. I think it's fair to compare the launch.
This is one of the most unique launches.
Do you like it better than Accelerator's launch?
No, I don't like any coaster's launch more than Accelerator.
Accelerator's launch is.
You
haven't been on King Dakar though.
No, I mean it's a hydraulic launch, but then there's plenty of people that have rode King Dakar and actually prefer Accelerators.
That's fair.
Just because Accelerators gets that top speed so quick. Not to say King Dakar didn't.
It's also a different kind of launch, and you'll know what we mean when you get on it.
I will say this. I think this is the best magnetic launch or LSM launch that I've ever experienced.
I think that's fair. It's crazy, dude.
It's fun.
It's
just
really
fun.
crazy.
It's different. The launch is different. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, just know that going in. I don't want to ruin it.
You're not gonna think much of it, and then you are gonna think a lot of it.
I'm still thinking about it. I'm still feeling it.
And I love this.
This must be what people felt when they were reading those 50 Shades of Grey novels. I just feel it in my body still.
That's right.
But
once again, tons of airtime, like Camelback Hills after Camelback Hills, double ups.
There's a bunny hill too that comes after an ejector hill that is really fucking fun, and you're just floating. Your ass is out of the seat.
Your lap bar is getting so much attention.
Yeah, it really is.
Your thighs are, and once again, these are mock trains, mock restraints. They crush these trains.
They're so good.
And the trains themselves are beautiful to look at.
No over-the-shoulder restraints either.
That must have designed these things. Incredible. But then you have just the signature comfortable mock seats with the really comfortable restraints. This coaster really kicks ass.
It's really good. I highly recommend Back Row. That was our favorite ride. We did back and we did front, and Back Row was better. I think not significantly better, but I do think it was better. And the view of the other coaster is significantly better in the back. I will say that.
Yes. And then another hot tip, I think we actually got this from a team member, was take the outside seat.
You want to be on the outside,
the
right
seat that's furthest away from the train that you're dueling with. It doesn't make sense until you ride it.
Yes.
That's just kind of how it works with the layout, where that's the seat, that's the magic seat, back row, outside. But any outside seat that's further away from the other train that you're dueling with, you're going to get a better visual on the interaction.
But man, and also every ride is different and unique because the timing of the dueling is always different. There was one ride in particular where it was perfectly timed, and I was like, this is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
We'll move on from Stardust, a fantastic roller coaster, arguably better than Velocicoaster, depending on who you are and your preferences of what kind of roller coaster you like.
And oh boy, when this park is open late enough for these night rides, they are going to be god tier.
How would you just really quickly, actually, before we move on, because as the resident coaster head here, how would you describe the experience of Velocicoaster versus the experience of Stardust? Because people do compare these inevitably because they're in the same resort, but they are a different type of coaster, and I think you might be able to verbalize that better than me.
Obviously Velocicoaster's got the world building, it's got the IP. Velocicoaster kind of has, a fun but rather tamer first half.
Yeah.
That hits you in the face with this incredible second half with an incredible finale. Stardust Racers is more like, hey, no pre-shows, no storyline. Well, a basic storyline if you want to read into it, but not much to it. Besides the creator of Celestial Park, I guess, supposedly harnessing the comets to get them to race, and you're part of that. Something of that magnitude. I don't, we can read up on it later. That's the gist of it. But they're not hitting you with a pre-show or any fancy stuff. What it really is, hey, this is designed to fit in well with Celestial Park. Fuck you. Here's an awesome roller coaster. Enjoy it, and you will.
I think, but even more so for me, Velocicoaster has stronger forces and more punches in terms of the elements. Like you have the Mosasaurus roll. You have the top hat blast off where you get almost ejected out of it. You have that crazy long stall. I think the highs of those result in a much more intense experience. So if you're looking for something to punch you in the mouth as hard as it can, and that's what you're into, like you want the most G's you could possibly get, I think Velocicoaster is your ride. I prefer that kind of thing. For reference, I love X2. And if you are into a ride that is just thrilling throughout, but is more of almost like a cruiser, like a cruiser and floating airtime kind of thing, I think Stardust might be more for you. And there is some legitimate ejector hills in this that are crazy.
I think this ride hits more than Velocicoaster, but when Velocicoaster hits, it hits harder.
Our timer,
if that makes sense.
Thanks, Adam.
Does that make sense? Like the signature moments of Velocicoaster hit harder than this, but to me, this ride feels a little more relentless.
This ride is relentless.
Kind of in a more like fun way, not overly hardcore, but it's got some really good airtime.
The two most thrilling moments of Velocicoaster, in my opinion, are the Mosasaurus roll, obviously, and then the blast over the top hat. I think those two moments are more intense than anything that's on Stardust.
Fair.
But I think Stardust throughout is, I think it's a better paced ride. I think it's a more balanced ride. So I guess it's what you're into.
Yeah. And I don't know.
And it has the better launch.
It does have, it's so weird to say, but it totally
undeniably
does.
It has the better launch.
It does, yeah.
So maybe, I don't know. Fuck, dude, that's tough. We'll have to marinate on that a little bit more. So apologies if we're not as clear on that right now in the moment. We
Great
did just
coaster. I guess I think I still take maybe Velocicoaster.
I'm taking Velocicoaster now
by a hair.
By a hair, yeah.
But I can't fault anyone for preferring this ride. Like,
No.
you want to lap it again and again and again. We did.
We did it 3 times in a row.
It is, yeah. It's cocaine as a coaster.
Yeah.
In coaster form, you just want to keep riding it, and man,
It's crazy.
It's gonna be a hit.
Moving over to Dark Universe Monsters Unchained. Good Jesus Christ. It's so good. Arguably the best dark ride in the world. I think it might be. I did the own mental exercise of myself of comparing it against other dark rides that I love, and I found myself gravitating towards this one every single time. It's a Kuka arm ride system, the same one that you get in Forbidden Journey. I knew that going in, and still the way they utilize this arm technology, they do it so much better than they do in Forbidden Journey. In fact,
well, I think just how they build around it.
They build around it, but dude, the viewing angles that are only possible through a Kuka arm system, they capitalize on that in a way with some of the story elements and scares. Like, there's some scares in this ride that could only be accomplished with this ride system because you need to have your field of view adjusted in a certain way where you're looking up to see certain things happening and certain reveals. It's incredible. Also, there are some screens on this ride. I'm a huge screen hater, to be honest. I don't like them. They're probably the best utilized in this ride, more so than any ride on the planet.
They don't
bar none.
There's not two. There are screens, but I think they're tastefully done in the ride.
Dude, the stuff they do with the screens where you have elements that are happening on a screen, you move a ride vehicle in a way where the screen is now out of your view, and there's another physical live action element that kind of like is the transition device, and then characters and things action from the screen is popping out IRL physically with animatronics and effects that blends the screen and the movement of the vehicle with real life environment, real time. It happens so fast and so seamless. Your mind, it's like really hard to even kind of clock what is screen and what is like a physical thing in some aspects. And I don't think I've ever seen that accomplished, to be honest. I've always seen a screen and been like, that's a screen. And don't get me wrong, there are some screens in here where I'm like, that's a screen.
Now you're constantly looking at it like, when does the screen stop?
And there's also
versa.
elements where there's a live action element in front of a screen. So you're seeing a screen where it's more of a background piece, and then you see it like kind of like Mickey and Minnie in that sense, I suppose.
Yeah, they're very much supplementary. I'd say it's more practical than screen.
And the animatronics in this ride, what you heard is true. The best.
And there's a lot of them.
There is a shitload of them, and they are scary.
Which I'm like wondering, how are they going to upkeep this thing?
I don't know.
You're talking like elite level animatronics, and
not elite.
The whole ride
best.
is full of them. Like there's not a moment in this ride that you are not interacting with some incredible animatronic that's extremely lifelike.
Pre-show so fun. So fun. There's two pre-show rooms.
Two pre-shows.
And one of them is in particular is fantastic. You're going to love Victoria Frankenstein. You're going to love Big Frank Frankenstein. Loved seeing him. I don't know who made the choices for Frankenstein's costume on this ride. They were both hilarious and they worked for me. He is inexplicably wearing ripped jeans that looks like he shops at Hot Topic. I enjoyed it very much. It was very funny. And speaking of Victoria Frankenstein, you want to talk about the Hollywood test, which is one of the tests we run in this show. I want to see this movie. I do.
Yeah.
It's crazy. One of my favorite movies is Cabin in the Woods. Because of the ending of that film in which, the monsters are released and, you're now fighting all of these scary monsters that were previously confined. It incorporates that. And, another deeper cut, 13 Ghosts, very similar. And it implements that device in a original storyline that involves Victoria Frankenstein that does not feel thrown together. This is not a female protagonist just for the sake of being a female protagonist. This is, I feel like, a legitimately interesting, cared about character as she should be. And I want to see more of her.
A compelling character that it all feels very earned. I'll just put it that way.
It does, and you can understand why she's doing some of the stuff she's doing. And the fact that we're talking about this character as if we watched a movie and it's a ride should let you all... That's all you need to know in terms of the storytelling of this ride. That's the thing. That's why I have it over Ministry of Magic, is because I am so crystal clear on what the story was, what everybody, not just like Victoria Frankenstein, the mumbling Frankenstein. I knew what his objective was in the ride, in the story, in the plot. Dracula. I mean, all the guys you know and love from Universal Monsters. It is so cool to finally see them being given some love.
It's the Avengers of monsters.
And then you introduce this amazing new character in Victoria Frankenstein. That's just just from a story alone, they killed it on this. It's so goddamn good. And then other than that, like the actual scale and setting of the ride, they destroyed that too. It's huge. Every room feels crazy. This is the modern Haunted Mansion ride. Like this is it's wow. Blown away. Absolutely blown away. I can't wait to ride it again. We didn't have time to shop in the gift shop. I would have bought something if I could have. And also, the mansion itself, it interacts. Like there's parts where the mansion will electrify. I don't know how else to describe that. You see from the outside of the facade.
The whole land works with it,
and the
too.
whole land shudders with that electrification. Like the lamps in like the village flicker when the electric happens in the castle, because it's like it makes sense because the castle is drawing power from like the land, from like if you have like a city block and a transformer goes out, all the lights go out. Same thing here. You're seeing that happen real time. Even the Burning Blade Tavern, like the blades of the tavern are in tandem with the mansion itself. And the blades, when they ignite, it comes along with a music cue written by Danny fucking Elfman. Oh, goodness.
No way. Yeah.
Are they all going? Yeah. awesome.
It's killer.
It all catches on fire. Like all the blades catch on fire.
It's so
a
good.
really neat moment.
Great sound design behind the blades. Great sound design throughout the entire attraction of Monsters Unchained too. And also the land. Like the land has music loops from Danny Elfman that are incredible. Like the vibe of this land is crazy. We interacted with two characters. One was like a violinist that was telling the story of Dracula, which also then again does, plays into what you're going to see in Monsters Unchained.
He is simultaneously young and ancient. He takes a human form, but he's not human. He is Nosferatu, and he is the king of vampires.
Everything in the land is working in tandem with the centerpiece attraction, Monsters Unchained. I love that. And it works. And it's an original story. I can't believe it. It's just so crazy.
The performers all work.
Yeah, I had an interaction with the Invisible Man who just verbally ripped me apart. This guy just pwned my ass.
If you knew anything about me, you would know I prefer anonymity. Why on earth would you ask me such a stupid question like that? I don't know what came over me. I like your shades. Good for you. Okay. What are you, a fashion editor? Unsuccessful.
It was really good. Just the land feels lived in. It has a tone. It has a very, very distinct voice, and they nailed it. There's really no other way to go around it. Which all this positivity. Let's go into a little negative here.
What, Kierce the werewolf?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
It's another mock roller coaster.
It's a mock free spinner.
If you're familiar with Knott's Berry Farm's Hero Sidewinder.
It's got some fun pieces to it. I think it's kind of on the tamer side, to be honest. I guess it depends on if you're on a train that spins more. Ours didn't really spin that much.
Ours barely did spin. Mm-hmm. Very hard to clock any of the theming, to be honest, on the ride. I thought the Lion King theming was fun. Like even like the scale of like the wagon camp was actually much larger than I thought. But yeah, I also don't love the nets. I know some people have talked about that, the nets that are along the track. I did see a rumor that they were going to be testing or putting projection mapping on the nets at nighttime. Doesn't really account for daytime where it's very clearly just a net. Like I would have hoped they would have put like spider webs or something there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the ride is
to
kind
me,
of
I
what
don't
you
know.
see.
Yeah,
It's what you see.
Just a coaster like that in a land like this, I feel like it just takes away from the visual aesthetic of the whole land.
Yeah, which is interesting because
it's
you're
minor.
normally,
It's minor, but it doesn't. I don't think it helps.
Well, you're usually beating the drum of like more kinetic energy, the better. I think
Yeah.
I actually agree with you in this case that like it does kind of cheapen the land a little bit. Like, why is this coaster in a land that is so fully realized in terms of story and all of it feeling
Yeah,
communicating with each other in terms of the story they're trying to tell? It is a little odd that there is just this like spinning roller coaster
the thing is, it mainly looks like a genetic spinning coaster.
or generic. You mean?
Or generic? Sorry, not genetic.
It's late.
It's very late. Whereas, like, we'll talk about Hiccups soon, but like Hiccups, Wind Gliders, that really adds to the energy of that land and the visual aesthetics.
It has a voice, a distinct voice.
Mhm. And it also makes sense story wise. We just were like, yeah, you're riding a roller coaster.
It felt kind of like, and look, I will say every theme park needs these C ticket, D ticket type of attractions to fill out the lineup. And unfortunately, this is probably the only ride in Epic Universe that felt like that to me. Like, oh, I get why they put this here. It's a family coaster. Kids could go on this. I don't quite enjoy it. And when I'm on the ride, very hard to pick up on the theming. There is a launch portion that goes through a covered section. There was a lot of theorizing online of what was going to be in there. Apparently, there's 2 werewolves in there. I didn't see them. It was hard to tell.
Did we just not get? Like, did we get a bad show or something?
No,
I didn't see anything.
I think this ride is prone to being tough to digest in the daytime.
Wow.
Because the light bleeds in there and you're moving in there so fast, it's kind of tough to tell what's going on. I would have liked to have seen. Well, then again, you're in that launch indoor section 2 times because there is a swing launch on this ride, and even both times I still didn't clock the werewolves.
I didn't notice anything.
And I was looking for them.
I just assumed.
I was like, "Where are my guys?"
I just assumed that A, they just never put a show scene in there, or B, it was in like B mode or something, and And if we were supposed to see something, oof.
Yeah, I don't know. It is what it is, guys. It's fine. There's onboard audio. That's kind of fun, you know?
Yeah.
There's portions at the end that feel a little unfinished, so I'll give some grace there because this is a technical rehearsal. They're still not completely up to opening day standard, but like, you know, we saw there in the ending scene, there's like very clear exposed speakers and a static kind of
Cables. It looks pretty
mannequin that looked like it was, you know, from a Horror Nights display of some sort.
yeah, it looked like a temporary thing.
So I'm not sure what's going on there. It's not my favorite attraction. In fact, I would say, I think it was maybe my least favorite attraction in the park.
Oh, that's funny because this was my dishonorable mention back in the.
No, you were right. You called it. It's just so heavily overshadowed by Monsters Unchained that you don't even really. It's not even offensive that it's not, you know, noteworthy, because Monsters Unchained is so goddamn good.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on. Ministry of Magic. Let's just get into it.
This is the streets of 1920s France. We're going to go straight to the British Ministry of Magic, where using the Flu Network, you'll be able to travel through both space and time to 1990s Britain. Okay?
Incredible.
Very specific day today in Britain.
This is the one people probably want to know about.
Oh my God.
Now this is the definition of a juicy squoozy.
We're one of the few that were lucky enough to ride it. Thank you, Universal, once again. I mean, let's start with the queue. You walk in, you enter through the Flu Network, and
How fun.
holy shit, what a moment that is. The lighting, and just the pageantry of it, it works. And the reveal you get after you get into the Ministry of Magic via the Flu Network, is this the best reveal in terms of Q in the world?
I was like wondering. I'm like, hey, do you put this in like the Rise of the
It's better than
Resistance
Rise.
level? You think that?
I think it's better than Rise. I mean,
the
oh, fuck. I mean,
that's a moment.
Okay,
But
let me
that's the
think
thing
about
is,
that.
Just to put this in the conversation with that is pretty wild.
Well, the thing about Rise is not only a reveal, it's a surprise. And what I mean by that is Rise is a surprise because you get the door opening from the same door you came in and now you're in a different environment, and that doesn't really make sense. It kind of breaks your brain.
Mm-hmm.
This, you know, you're going to get teleported into another place. So you don't have that surprise.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have that going for it. However, if you're just going to compare scale to scale, this is more impressive in my opinion.
I agree.
Like, it looks exactly like it does in the film when Voldemort and Dumbledore are duking it out with his little magic whistle water ball.
It's insanely impressive. It feels endless. It's, oh boy, once again,
The tile work, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I think there is some supplementary projections that help, but
Yeah.
once again, it's kind of hard to tell where that starts.
It's fantastic. I mean, it's a true jaw-dropping moment.
A big ass atrium. It's, yeah, I don't know.
And we didn't see the full queue either because this was, like I said, it was in media preview. We weren't even supposed to go on this ride. Team members had told us, you didn't even see the full queue. And still, I think either is the best queue in the world or at the very least, in the conversation for best queue in the world. That's crazy. To the point where, like, honestly, if we had just seen the queue, I would have been satisfied. I would have been like, we got our money's worth.
Yeah.
Like, if this ride is ever down...
Fantastic walkthrough attraction.
Exactly. If this ride is ever down, they should just let people walk through and see the queue, honestly. It's that good.
I think that's what they've been doing for a lot of
For a
lot of guests.
Yeah, it's I get it. I could see why. When your queue's that damn good, you know, put it on the table. Let's get into the ride. No one really knows what the ride is. We saw the ride system. We had heard the rumors that there's nothing quite like it. There are patents out there of the ride system on the internet, so those of you who are getting your Alicia Stella on, you already know these things. But basically how it was distilled down to me is it is a similar ride system to Spider-Man. It's a bigger ride vehicle in that it's like an entire elevator shaft and like a theater of sorts, a moving theater of sorts. And how it's similar to Spider-Man is that Spider-Man's ride vehicle essentially sits on like a screw, and that screw has like about like a like a foot of like you could go up or down
with like many axes, right? Or
but I'm talking about vertical movement.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
about like a foot.
Mm-hmm.
And Rich was talking to me about this. This ride was actually based off of tech that was developed for digging, for like oil digging, like oil rig dig. Like so, like it like instead of dropping people down, you know, when you're digging, you know, you imagine a screw going downward and a vehicle moving downward on that screw. This was they reversed the tech that existed to make it so that you could go up, and the amount of distance you could travel up and down is basically like Spider-Man 10x'd. And that's why there are moments where it feels like, am I on a suspended attraction right now?
I don't know how the hell it did it, because it feels like it's moving much more swiftly than the Spider-Man rides.
It is, but you're also like, imagine just like a ride that moves that could kind of like extend upward way bigger than you had ever thought a building like a moving vehicle could. And they combine that with state-of-the-art screen technology mixed with practical effects. And as crazy as the animatronics are in Monsters Unchained, because they are incredible, there's a couple animatronics in this ride where I legitimately turned to Byron and I was like, is that an actor?
Yeah, I had the same thought.
Like, is that legitimately an actor? I have no idea.
The movements are so fluid.
And it's not to say that the Monsters Unchained ones are so fluid. I still think they're more impressive. It's just that Monsters Unchained animatronics are Frankenstein and the Wolfman. So there's never going to be a part of me that's like, is that massive thing a person?
Yeah.
Unless they have Shaquille O'Neal in there, there's no way that that's like a real person. Whereas these look like people. There were things in there that really broke my concept of reality. Like, I had no idea what was going on. I had not in a way that like I knew what was going on in the story. I just didn't know how they accomplished.
I couldn't tell if I was perceiving the motion
I
or
agree.
if I was actually moving. It was probably a combination of both. I just kept thinking, how are they doing this?
Excellent pace. It feels breakneck pace, and yet it feels perfectly long in terms of its length. Very satisfied with the experience, and I was also very pleased with the times that they did use practical effects versus screen. And I will say, I would say 95% of the time, if there's a screen involved, there is still the focal point is the practical effect that's happening in front of the screen.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's me as being like the guy who doesn't like screens, but that's what it was. I was shocked by that. There's very few instances, if any, in which it is solely a screen that you're looking at. And that'll make sense when you ride the ride. That being said, because there's always a practical element and some sort of screen technology mixed in with that screen, you know, with that practical effect, I am struggling to see how there is ever going to be a B mode of this ride, which means it's going to be down a lot. And there's nothing they could do about that because you can't run it. And if you don't know what that means, you can't run a ride in B mode. And B mode means certain effects don't work, so we'll just turn that off, and people can still enjoy the ride. One of the most notable ones in ride history now, notorious for this actually, is Rise of the Resistance, the cannons sequence that move. You know, you cat and mouse between them, and they move forward and backwards. For years, the cannons didn't work, so they just had them stationary.
I think that's still the case as of right now.
They fixed it for a brief moment
at Disney World.
Oh no, I'm saying they fixed it in Disneyland.
Yeah, it's fixed at Disneyland.
I don't even know if it's broken now at this point, but
I think it's still fixed at Disneyland. I don't think it's quite there yet for Disney World.
Anyways, you can run that in B mode and have those stationary. Disco Yeti, that's permanent B mode over in Expedition Everest. They had a massive Yeti animatronic, didn't work, so they made it stationary and put a strobe light to simulate motion. Hence the name Disco Yeti. That's B mode. Ministry of Magic, I do not know what the B mode is, because if there's so many moving parts that are all working in tandem to produce the experience, that if one of them isn't working, I could be wrong. Look, I've only gone it one time, but that was my main takeaway. I was like, how the hell are they going to keep this thing running at all times? That and then the motion sickness. Those are my two worries about the ride. Because the screen elements.
There's a bit. I think some people are going to be upset with some of the motion sickness.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the B mode thing?
Oof. I think the big issue is getting the amount of ride vehicles they need to get working.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty noticeable when we were boarding this attraction that the only way this was able to happen for us was to run maybe a couple ride vehicles.
Yeah.
And I think obviously they're going to have to run way more to make sure this isn't like a 15-hour wait.
I mean, the queue is amazing, but
it's amazing, but you don't want to be in any queue for 15 hours. So I think a lot of the issues are probably the ride system, but it's hard to think of how this would work in a B mode. It's
another thing too is, first off, the ride vehicle is spectacular. Like, it's a very plush elevator seat. It's like a luxury tower terror.
The photos out there, they released, Universal released it a while ago.
They're accurate. They look exactly like that, and it's a great sitting experience. But it's I don't know, man. I mean, like, the thing is, we saw it today, and we were very fortunate to see a perfect show. And Byron and I, when we say that, like, oh, that was a good show, it means everything was working, at least as we perceived it. And if you're getting a perfect show on this, which it seems like that's the only way they could run it, you are in for a goddamn treat. It is a spectacular ride, and there is nothing quite like it when it is firing on all cylinders. How often it's going to be firing on all cylinders, that's what's going to cement its legacy in my mind.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. We got like a month and a half until the park officially opens. We'll see if they can fix all, buff out the screw. I just figure it out.
Case in point, they almost didn't have it ready for media day, and they may not have it ready for opening day. Not the most fortuitous sign for things to come,
considering how long they've been working on this ride.
Then again, once again, nothing like it in the world. So maybe a little grace can be extended. But no, that is a worry. And it's also a worry because there's not another attraction in the land. It's just there's a show, which is fantastic, by the way. We'll get into that in a second. But if I were to put myself in armchair engineering mode and I could redo this park, the only thing I would probably change is take out Curse of the Werewolf and either replace it with a different style of C ticket or D ticket attraction, or add a C ticket, D ticket attraction to Wizarding World to balance out when Ministry of Magic is inevitably down. Because if it's down, there's no attraction in that world. That's like one major critique I have.
Yeah, that's true. It is. It's got a lot on its shoulders.
It really does.
And it's
and I don't know how many days a week it's doing leg day. Those legs are going to be wobbly.
Oh boy.
But moving into the show, which I actually have to look up the name of this one.
I believe it's Le Cirque on.
Let's see if you nailed it.
On Canoe.
Let's see if you nailed it.
Le Cirque.
Le Cirque Arcanu.
I think it's pronounced Arcanu.
The visuals of this show are spectacular. There are certain things that they do through, honestly, like magician-style illusions. I was really scratching my head on how they pulled off some of these things. And I'm practical things, by the way. I'm not talking about screen stuff. There is some screen stuff in this show, but there are some practical effects where Byron and I were like, huh? How did they do that? How did that happen?
Yes. There is a levitating briefcase. I don't know how.
What in the world was going on with that?
It went from, screen land to practical land so seamlessly. I was looking for whatever was keeping it levitated, and I could not find it. I don't know how. It was floating in midair.
Oh, for sure going to trick the average tourist. If it could trick two people who are actively like, I'm going to figure out how you're doing this.
I don't know. Maybe it was the angle we were looking at. We just couldn't see the trick, but I was shocked. I thought it was a really neat effect.
Yeah.
And to get a live actor to pop out of that briefcase was really cool.
It was insane.
I mean, that's easier to know what they did, but
No, that one I could wrap my head around. It's the transitions between the screen and the live action element that I was like really scratching my head. There is like a bit of a pre-show for this one, which is really fun. And then there's the main show, and the auditorium, very comfy. A great little theater that they have there. And it does some things that I did not expect the theater to do. I don't want to give everything away, but the theater changes in ways that I was shocked by.
It's a beautiful production.
A beautiful production.
Really well lit.
Oh boy!
Once
yeah.
again, the music is great. The performers go for it.
Also, if you're not a fan too of Fantastic Beasts,
Don't worry.
yes, but also if you really didn't like Fantastic Beasts, you may not love this.
I don't think once again, I think
You knew
it's in
nothing
the
about it, yeah.
it's in the Fantastic Beasts world. I never actually saw Fantastic Beasts, and I loved the show.
I guess what I'm trying to say is if you're going in there trying to see Harry Potter,
You're gonna get Eddie Redmayne.
that's right. Eddie is there.
Yeah, you're gonna get projection Eddie because they can't actually hire Eddie to
they cannot.
show up on the daily.
But they could have hired someone to pretend to be Eddie.
Like right?
I'm a little confused by that because they have great actors in this show, and yet the portion where you meet Newt, they don't have Eddie. They don't have a Eddie lookalike. Get an Eddie lookalike.
No, they wanted the real Eddie, but projected, and that kind of took me out of it a little bit.
I'm just saying, if you're in the Isle of Berk and you could get a Hiccup lookalike who's an animated character, get an Eddie lookalike. I don't know. That's my thought on that. But other than that little nitpick, I really did love the show quite a bit. And it does incorporate some cool Cirque-like event, stuff in it as well.
Yeah.
Like there's a guy who does some real cool shit with bubbles, which sounds like a sexual
Yeah,
thing,
it's like
but it's not.
you're seeing an actual like mini Cirque du Soleil kind of thing.
It's fun.
You got a pre-show. It's got a really good protagonist. I really liked her.
Yeah, I did too. Great performance. Shout out to the actors today who were there.
Yeah, so you got a pre-show that it's like standing room or only. We had to stand for quite a while. I think they were delayed a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think if this is running smoothly, it's not going to be too bad. And then you actually get to go sit in a theater actually, and
great beasts. The beasts that they have on stage are really cool.
yeah.
And some of them are pretty large in scale. So
And once again, they blend the projections with the real thing really well.
yeah,
Some cute beasts.
some very cute ones.
Good moments in this show. Highly recommend. What's next?
My favorite show in the entire park.
Yes. I
And
guess
there's only two shows, but my favorite show in the park.
All right. So that take us. Could we just go straight to the next show? Just jump into Isle of
Let's
Berk?
go straight to Untrainable Dragon and Isle of Berg. Let's go back-to-back shows. Once again, a kids show. There is some real showstoppers here. People have already talked about how there is the flyover from Toothless.
Yeah. And that footage has been out there from the Beijing show, but
What'd you think of it?
what, the flyover?
That's right.
I loved it.
I was okay on it.
You didn't love the flyover?
I just thought this is a stupid thing, I think. I think it's because I had been seeing so much footage of them testing the dragon drones.
Oh.
I thought it was going to be something like that. So when I saw Toothless was kind of suspended by wires, I was a little like, oh, okay, well, they do something similar to this, like even in the Aladdin show with the flying carpet.
Yeah.
So I think I was a little let down, and I had
Yeah.
to be honest about that.
That's fair.
But the texture of the Toothless animatronic
It's a
that is
big ass
attached
moving
is
Toothless
super cool.
attraction.
Like it
The
really does look like a
eyes.
real dragon. The scales you could see.
It lands on the stage.
It's fantastic. And the actors, once again, killing it in this show. The guy who played Hiccup in particular was great. And some full scale dragons that appear on this stage as well. I don't know how much more I have to say about that one though. It just didn't move me as much as the Cirque show. And
I think
and
the
Wizarding World.
story plays a little more for kids. I think it feels. I guess my suspension of disbelief in terms of like their logic of the choices the characters make or where their mindset is, doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But hey, you know what? I think kids are gonna really like it. The production of it all is really neat.
Production values.
It's really
it's
neat
crazy.
that they have, to a certain extent, a live music element to it because you got the drums.
Mm-hmm.
They got the drummers on the side. They have live vocalists
Yeah.
singing. That's what vocalists do.
They vocalize.
So yeah, overall, I think good, but not great. I take Le Cirque Arcanu over this one, but
agree.
I think the kids are gonna love this one.
Even if I have to see Eddie Redmayne's screen version.
Talking weird.
Yeah, talking weird. Then we also have the Toothless meet and greet is the one we were talking about earlier. We didn't mention the name of the character. It's a Toothless. It's full scale, and I believed it was a real animal. To be quite honest with you. I know that doesn't make me seem like an intelligent man, which, jury's still out on that, but I will say that even the team member who came up to us to give us the rules of the meet and greet was like, just so you know, he doesn't like it. He loves it when you pet him on the nose. He loves it when I forgot the other thing he loved, but here's what he doesn't like. He doesn't like
can't put it behind the ears.
Doesn't like touching behind the ears.
And I was nervous. I didn't want to upset this dragon.
No, and even one of the people that we were with in our media group was like, I think I pissed the dragon off. Whatever that dragon's powered by, I don't know what is inside that dragon, what kind of robot is inside there, but I saw people pet it on the head and its eyes kind of like, when you pet like a dog on the head and it's like really digging it and it's like eyes just close and it smiles. This dragon does that. And the dragon also was like snuggling with people. Like it was like...
The nose like quivers.
It's crazy. It's like, how they make the Raptors in Velocicoaster look so goddamn real? Imagine if those weren't just chained to that little paddock and instead were out in the open, something you could touch and something that could touch you. I saw it literally move its head and nuzzled against somebody's face.
Yeah.
And she went in and like hugged it. And I was like, this is... And that's when that lady was like, got emotional because I was like, this is, it feels like an animal.
Hello, how are you? Hi. Welcome to Berg. I'm Don.
Hey, buddy.
Okay.
I don't know how they did this.
Yeah. And you get to spend an extended amount of time interacting with
Which is
this
why the
dragon.
line's going to be long.
I'm calling it now. This is going to be a multi-hour wait.
At least.
For
Oh,
kid-
no, I don't
for
know. Okay,
kids
I think it's going to be at least an hour for sure.
to meet this dragon.
'Cause
for
today
sure.
was
at least
running
in the
at 45.
opening year, I could see days where it's 2 hours.
It was running 45 today.
Yes, for a cast member preview.
I know. Yeah. Cast member media day.
Yes, we went right to the front of that line.
We did. We were very fortunate. And I got to say, I loved petting this dragon.
It was
And I
it's
like
a
to think
moment.
he liked me petting him.
I've had a childlike sensation with this dragon.
And then we saw also the smaller dragon. I forget the name of that fella.
Oh yes, they brought that. And that's a separate experience. That was just like a live performers out in the land. You didn't have to wait to see this. This was just out there. And like once again, like Isle of Berk, they just seem to do this.
Guys!
I've been working sick.
And there was a guy who was like the wrangler interacting with the dragon, then interacting with the crowd as a walk-around experience. This is the dragon that most of you have seen footage of from the overhead of like a dragon walking around, and it looks like a robot because it is a robot. It's crazy.
It's adorable. It is like when bringing back the Galaxy's Edge comparison when everyone thought there'd be droids like roaming around everywhere.
Yes.
This is their version of that, but they're actually doing it, and it's really cute, and it's really well executed.
What's funny is looking at this meet and greet, looking at this walk-around dragon and all the characters and all the hidden animatronics in the land. You already heard what I thought about Monsters Unchained and Ministry of Magic. I think both of those are already could lay claim to the best ride in the world, but it was the Toothless experience and all the lived elements of Isle of Berk that made me think, oh boy, Disney, if they see this, they're going to be a little scared. That was the first. That was like really where I was like, this is where the separation could occur.
I think for this whole park, it's gonna like this is.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get to that in closing thoughts because I just have thoughts of what this whole park means or
Yes.
what it's going to mean.
Oh, it's going to mean great things for theme park heads.
Yeah. But what's next now for Isle of Berk? It's Hiccup's Wing Gliders.
Hiccup's Wing Gliders. Let's quickly
do,
go through a fire drill.
drill.
Fire drill, once again, creative use of a very tiny footprint. These boats do not move fast, but it is gamified in a way where you have to hit red targets to score points, and your target that you're hitting, you're using a literal water gun. Very similar to the water guns you use at carnivals when you're trying to win like a stuffed animal, except, much larger scale and moving on a boat. With 6 other people, or I believe actually more than that. Little barges, I guess is a better way to call it. And if you hit blue targets, you get punished. You're not supposed to hit those, and you will get blasted by water. You're going to get wet on this ride, either from that, or what I didn't know is the other boats have the ability to turn their guns toward your boat and fire at you, and it starts this like kind of like naval battle that's happening.
It was really frustrating because this kid kept shooting me because they had the better angle, and I wasn't able to turn my gun far left enough to hit that kid.
That kid must have been what, 9 years old, 8 years old?
Yeah, and they were just
giggling their ass off,
just freaking soaking me.
And what was funny
so mean
is that their gun, because there's only a certain amount of pan and pivot that you have on the gun, it was perfectly positioned to hit Byron where he was situated on our barge.
But we were perpendicular to that boat, so I couldn't turn my gun enough to get it to hit them, but all they had to do was just point it straight at me.
But they also couldn't turn their gun to hit me. And I saw what they were doing, so I turned my gun and for whatever reason, I had a perfect angle at this little kid.
Yeah, you shoot him in my honor.
And I was blasting him. and the whole rest of the ride, that kid was dedicated to soaking me. They did not, because they just never had a clear shot. And at one point, there was a point where I could see them very clearly, like face to face. This kid gave me the finger to the throat, cutthroat signal, like I'm going to kill you.
Incredible.
And like, it was amazing. And I was like, that kind of interaction you'll never get on another ride where
really,
like it's amazing.
Really kick-ass supplementary experience. Like, what a concept. Let's take a shooter ride and we're going to put it on the water.
And also we're going to give consequences. If you get the wrong thing, you're going to get sprayed back. And we're going to give the other boats the ability to sabotage you and make it more of a communal interactive experience between other players. And it's all done in this very tiny footprint that you probably couldn't put anything other than this ride there. And it also adds kinetic energy to the land.
This line's going to have a very long line in summer.
It's so good. I loved it. It was like a real sleeper hit for me. And then the Dragon Racers.
Dragons Racers Rally. It's a flat ride, but, I got to say, it's a good addition. It's fun. There's nothing too much to it.
There is kind of, though.
More than you would expect.
Like the thing about it is these rides, this system has like a pivot point which allows you to spin. Technically, you could do a flip in your seat, kind of like the X2 seats.
Yeah, like a little barrel roll.
But you need to use your body and physics. There's like a way you could lean, and you could also move either glider on your little seat, because each person is in their own individual seat, and attached to it are two wings that you can move up or down. You can move either of those up or down and lean your body in certain ways to make yourself flip. And it becomes this kind of like IRL full-scale physics lesson that you're trying to figure out real time while you're being, lifted in the air. And that really gamified it in a way that I thought was super creative. And once again, utilizing a very small footprint to add value to the land and the park in a way that was also visually pleasing if you're not on the ride. So I was very surprised and honestly impressed with that. And then moving to Hiccup's Wing Gliders, again, going to be the new standard for family coasters. It even incorporates launches and a kid coaster, and I think that's smart because that's where everything is heading. Start them young. And they do it well in this. The launches are integrated into the storyline of the ride. They're not just there for no reason.
Yes, the launch feels motivated.
They're all motivated. Both of them. There's two launches in this ride.
Yeah.
One of them is a special kind of launch that I don't want to spoil, but it is like they're both motivated story-wise. And also, there's variance in the narrative loops of audio that you get here. Like, we got on this 2 times, and both times there was different narration from Hiccup. Mm-hmm. Which I believe was Jay Baruchel who played the character in the movies, or it sounded like him.
I don't know if he came back for this one, but it was Jay. It was definitely Jay in the film.
Yeah, he sounded like him. But yeah, anyways, he's the guy who's kind of guiding you through this experience. He's made like a roller coaster to simulate flight. Toothless does not like that because he's like, I only was going to be flying as a dragon like me. And so he gets a little mischievous, and he sets you off on this little...
Jumps the gun before you get your wings, and...
yeah.
And then you're on this little wild flying adventure, and
yeah,
there's some really good,
wrong.
really beautiful moments. It's it moves. It's an Intamin coaster. It's very similar the way it moves like Hagrid's in terms of the feel of the track and like the bank turns, like going over the water. This amazing moment of just kind of this water and the mist of it kind of hitting your face as you go under a bridge.
A perfect amount of splash of water. There's water elements in here but not to the point where like if you didn't want to get wet and you got a little wet from this water element, you wouldn't be angry.
Yeah, just like a little spritz on your face.
A little spritz. It's a really well-themed kid coaster. I was very, very pleased with it. And, earlier I talked about how Yoshi was kind of like this parks people mover. This is really actually kind of more like it because you move through Isle of Berk and interact with all the elements of the land in a very, very pleasing way.
It's good. It's very rewritable. Although I predict that this is going to be very hard to rewrite in the first couple of years.
You're probably
because
right.
It's going to be such a hit. It
does have a dual load station, though.
Dual load station. I feel like this is also going to have way less downtime than Hagrid's.
Probably, yeah.
So, you know what? Like maybe it is manageable, but it's also going to be extremely popular because almost everyone could get on this ride, and it's a gateway coaster that also coaster enthusiasts will still enjoy for the theming and the whimsical nature of how it moves.
And then lastly, we move to Super Nintendo World. We already know, we'll save Mario Kart for another day. We haven't even done an episode on that. But everyone kind of has an idea of what that is already. So let's move to Yoshi. We talked about it a little bit. It's a kid's ride. It moves incredibly slow, like shockingly slow.
And I'll tell you what, you really feel that sun.
Yeah, that's true.
Fucking cooking up there.
It does kind of feel like you're sitting on the surface of the sun.
No shade.
It's getting absolutely
you're just
blasted.
Crawling up there. Like in August, people are going to be fucking dying just getting skin cancer up there. It's going to be so bad.
But I do like the gamification of it. I didn't realize that part of the objective of the ride is to find different colored Yoshi's eggs. And there's buttons on your ride vehicle that you click, like if you see the blue egg, like, oh, I'll click the blue button. And if you find all the eggs, you get this like golden egg thing, which we didn't get because I couldn't find all the eggs.
You know what the issue is? It's like sneaky hard because you
bright.
think like, oh wow, I just got to spot these big eggs. This thing's moving so slow. That's going to be so easy to do. And then you're moving so slow that you kind of forget you're playing the game. And then it's like a tortoise in the hare effect.
Yeah, it is.
Where you're like, oh crap, we're running a race. I forgot that we're looking for eggs. I missed the egg.
I just forgot the objective here. I forgot I was now egg hunter. And
look, I feel like this is going to be a really easy ride to get on. And
it was a
for
10-minute wait.
It's we walked right on it.
And now standby.
And now we weren't even doing the tour. We were just, normal folk. And by normal folk, I mean still getting into a park a month and a half early.
Yeah, that's a good.
So that being said, like it's, minus the sunburn, like just wear sunblock if it's hot and the UV's high and you're going on this ride because you'll cover like 200 feet out there, but that'll take you like 10 minutes.
Yeah. And also it is a cool vantage point of Super Nintendo World that you're not afforded over in Hollywood, at least. So for that, it is nice. You're just not moving at people mover speed. So don't expect that like I was thinking. And then lastly, we have Minecart Madness. Yeah, I mean, this ride really surprised me. I think one of the things that really stood out to me the most is how they mixed the fake track with the real track. Not in the terms of like, oh, I didn't realize, I think I'm jumping from, broken track to broken track, but there are multiple tracks that you are visually looking at, and so you're unable to guess which direction you're going to go.
Yeah, and it kind of wraps around the land or the mini land of Donkey Kong.
Yes.
So no matter where you're at in the land, you're seeing a minecart roll by, and that's awesome. Pretty sweet.
And it's got some great kick-ass onboard Donkey Kong music. I was fucking loving it. Yeah, dude, I was in heaven. I love this guy. Good. I love him and his bananas.
Yeah.
And you see so many Kongs on this ride. You see Cranky Kong in the queue.
I need all of you to hop in these here minecarts and help the DK crew chase those block-headed tiki-tats out of the temple. What do you mean, me? I told you there's a nap with my name on it.
He's great. He's probably up there in the conversation for best in-ride in-queue animatronics.
And they almost kind of have like a bit of like a plush look, don't they?
They do. They kind of have like that Pooh's Honey Hunt look to them.
Not as like, not fuzzy, but you know, it's still...
It looks from the world of the game, and
but in
it
real
kicks
life,
ass.
it's weird. It's awesome. Like, in
and
a
especially
weird way.
Cranky Kong, the old Donkey Kong that you see sitting in a rocking chair in this, you get to really look at him up close, and even with that prolonged look, looks fantastic.
Yeah, he's interacting with a parrot.
Yeah.
Really good.
And the
really
main,
takes you back to the game.
It really does. And the main Donkey Kong animatronic kicks ass as well.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. The waterfall element is also awesome. The land is great. And
honestly, more exciting than I thought this coaster would be. It's got a couple good little, like curving drops in there. There's more animatronics than I thought there were going to be in there. Some near collisions, of course, the signature, jumping track that everyone's been talking about.
I never, though, felt like I was actually jumping from track to track. It was more just like I couldn't guess which direction the cart was going to go.
That's fair.
Like I never felt the sensation of like, oh, I'm flying through the air.
No,
it's more from like the outsider's purpose point of view that it looks like you're flying through the air.
That's true. And it looks, they sell that visually.
It does look really cool.
So it's not all for naught. And I think you might fool some kids.
Well, also because you're like the roller coaster system is on the rail under the fake track. There is some, I don't even know if you want to call it rattle, but there's like some like rough, herky-jerky nature to some of the turns on this ride that I didn't particularly enjoy. So that's a real thing.
From what I've heard, this is like a hodgepodge of manufacturers.
Yeah.
I think a lot of Universal ended up having to develop this coaster model. We don't know the exact specifics of it, but it seemed like quite an endeavor, and I gotta say, they made a fun ride out of it.
I think it's fun.
Not perfectly smooth.
It has flaws.
The track, I guess it's the fake track for that matter. It reminds me kind of RMC track, like the iBox track.
Yeah.
But honestly, because this had a bad rep going into it, I thought it was like much better than I expected.
I agree. I found myself pleasantly surprised, and it's a ride with flaws, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Not every ride has to be Monsters Unchained.
No. So yeah, just once again another addition to what we've already deemed like a really good park.
A solid D ticket, in my opinion. And that takes us to the end, folks. That is a very I mean, we went for a lot longer than I thought, but I mean, it's kind of hard to not wax poetic about this park. I think overall, it is what you think it is in terms of the hype, and that's crazy to me. I went in this with sky-high expectations, and it still exceeded them. I just can't believe it.
Mm-hmm. What do you think this means for like the theme park industry at large?
It means everything in terms of the experience itself. If the park is successful, if people show up for this park and word of mouth works beyond the marketing that they're very much putting a lot of effort and money into, and people show up, it will change everything for the better.
I think if enough people show up and the word of mouth gets out there, it is going to be the hot ticket in a conversation of anyone heading to Orlando, and potentially for many families. And I don't think the youngest of kids, because I do feel like it's like a rite of passage for many to do the Disney World pilgrimage.
For now.
But I think for many families, especially with kids like 10 and up, this is the hot ticket. This is the most impressive theme park now in Orlando, and potentially one of the most impressive theme parks in the world.
I was asking my wife this because before we went to Epic Universe, I had asked her, what do you actually know about Universal Orlando as a resort? And she was like, oh, I'm not that interested because is it kind of like the one in Hollywood? And I was trying to explain to her that even from an Islands of Adventure and Universal Orlando perspective, it definitely is by a pretty wide margin. And now you throw Epic Universe in there. And I was asking her at the end of it all, like, when we come back to Orlando, has the experience of all three of these parks Universal Orlando, Islands of Adventure, and Epic Universe in that order in terms of ascension, would you feel empty a little bit if we didn't go to Universal and just went to Disney World instead? And she was like, yeah, honestly, because you and I talked about this, Byron. Like, I think this is going to, at the very least, make it a mandatory hybrid, a hybrid experience. It's now going to be mandatory, in my opinion. Of like, now when I come to Orlando, I will be either going to the Universal Orlando Resort and then tacking on some of my favorite Disney parks, or maybe Disney parks and then tacking on an Epic Universe. But it is now in the conversation of this being the main event and then tacking on Disney, as opposed to the contrary, which has always been the case for all time. And now that might change. No, I'm not saying it's going to change.
I gotta say this, and I think the guest experience is going to play a big role in that as well.
That's a good point.
Feel like there's just less mental hula hoops that are going to go into booking a Universal vacation. And what Disney always had was the amount of experiences available can't be matched. Well, now Universal, that always had Universal Studios Florida, which is, it's got plenty of fine attractions. It's whatever, but you had Islands of Adventure carrying a lot of the thematic and emotional weight. And now you have Epic Universe. And you since 2017 already have a world-class water park. And now it becomes very easy to say, hey, this is the base camp for our Orlando vacation. If we want to go at Epcot or Animal Kingdom or do a day at Disney World, I could easily see that being a discussion, because it's just less mental gymnastics. And it looks like they're just finding ways to just keep the theme park experience simple. You want to buy the Express Pass, you could buy the Express Pass and you could go to the rides when you want.
Yeah.
Whenever you want, if you want to buy unlimited. But for everyone else, you're not going to get bogged down too much with the Express Pass. We sell a limited amount. It's at a price point that makes it hard for people to even get.
Which means it doesn't bog down the system overall, which is a problem with the current Lightning Lane system and multi-pass system that the Disney resorts use, or Premier Access if you're overseas. Obviously you can watch the Defunct Land video to have more on that.
I mean, here at Epic Universe, like, even the locker system has improved. We literally were able to just show our face instead of scanning a ticket now, and your locker, it's facial recognition.
It's crazy.
Super cool. Just ways to simplify, and all the interactive stuff. Isle of Berk, a great example. Obviously, like Mario World. All that interactive stuff is not getting on a data pad, aka your iPhone. No. You are playing with practical set pieces in this universe. And I think this is gonna make things, I don't think with Disney World could be dethroned, personally. I know there's like these are, oh my gosh, like Universal, like, I don't see that happening. I think there will always be a considerable market. You could even say the lion's share going to Disney World. This is going to make it very interesting.
I think this is going to make, at the very least, tacking on one of these Universal parks, probably Epic, is going to be a mandatory thing now. Like, I think the average family going, oh, we're going to Orlando, we're going to Disney World, well, we got to go to Epic, at least, as well. And while we're there, might as well go to Islands. So, like, that's, you're adding on. I don't think that's no longer is that going to be like, should we do this? It's, you have to do that. You have to. And also the price point that these parks come in, especially the hotels of Universal Orlando.
Oh, yeah.
Disney cannot compete with that price point for the value and the quality that is being offered, which is on par, in my opinion, in a lot of cases with the Disney resorts in terms of like the hotel. I think Disney is a better like intertwined system of transportation and does feel more like a connected world than Universal Orlando does. But in terms of like just like the hotel itself, I need to stay at a place. I want it to be in the world of Universal, and I want it to be close.
And it's convenient, a really efficient bus system.
And it's affordably priced in terms of the theme park world. Look, obviously, all these hotels aren't like super cheap, but like compared to a Disney World hotel.
Look, there's no surprise that Disney is exploring bringing the
Magical Express back.
Magical Express back. Yeah. I think, because now they are realizing that, because that really helped bring them, keep everyone in the bubble.
That's right.
If people have to find different means to get out of your bubble, or to get to your resort, now they have the freedom to be like, why don't we go to Universal? They got that shiny new toy over there.
Well, Byron,
it is late.
We got to wrap this up. I hope you guys have all enjoyed listening to this very long download. I want to finish with one last little question here, which I actually just forgot. What was the question I was going to ask? I can't remember. Legitimately can't remember.
I'm sure it was about Epic Universe.
I'm sure it was. I guess we'll never know. What a way to blue ball the audience at the end of this episode.
All right. Well, I guess you're hearing our outro music.
No, dude, I'm going to remember it. Hold on. Give me a second. It was pretty good. I was pretty pleased with it. I promise you. What was it?
I got to get up in like 5 hours.
I know you do because we're going to Epcot tomorrow.
I'm rope dropping Hollywood Studios.
You're crazy, dude. What the fuck was I about to ask? You guys, you could just cut that part out.
I want to know what the question is.
What were you talking about?
I was talking about the Magical Express and like how it's becoming easier since you're already out of the bubble, just to bring Universal into the equation. The convenience of Universal over Disney.
Oh, I remember it. Okay, I remember the question now.
Right.
I remember it. Thank God. This is a spicy one because I do think this is indicative of what actually Epic will mean, because I think the only way that Disney will ever be truly challenged is if it hits their wallet. And reasonably, because I do think this is reasonable to predict this, how many years do you think it'll be before Epic is on par or maybe even exceeds the ticket sales of a Disneyland or a Magic Kingdom? Because that's really the question you're asking.
I believe it's going to. I think people might think I'm crazy. I think this is going to surpass Animal Kingdom's annual attendance by year 2.
Animal Kingdom for sure. What about Disneyland Resort?
No.
Ever. I could see a decade. People might call me crazy for that. I could see a decade from now. If this park continues to be well maintained and continues to expand and Disney doesn't start pulling out some big guns, a decade.
Disneyland is timeless. It's been around for about 70 years.
Yeah, but this could be this generation's Disneyland.
I don't know. If I was a betting man, I'd still say not going to quite hit Disneyland's attendance.
We'll revisit this in the future. Either way, once again, thank you guys for listening to this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. Again, thank you to every single person who has watched or listened to this podcast. You're the only reason that we got this media preview. We don't get it without you guys. So again, thank you for supporting the pod.
This was an incredible day.
This was one of the best days of my life.
It really was.
Honestly,
it felt like a dream the whole time.
It did feel like a dream. And
if that's any indication to this park's success, I mean, we're in for good times, because this is going to motivate competitors to have to keep raising the bar. And this is just what we wanted.
I agree.
This is a win for everyone. This is
an
incredible park.
I can't wait to go back.
Can't wait. I already want to book a trip to get. I want to get my parents to check it out. My sister. It's just like I immediately want to get back into Epic Universe.
It's amazing. Once again, subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/@FYApod, to help keep the show alive, as well as wherever you're listening to this, rate, subscribe there. Consider supporting us on our fourth wall, FYApod.com. You'll get up to 3 monthly bonus shows, in addition to shows like the one you just watched for free right now. And our merch is there as well. And we have a very lively Discord community over there as well. That's great. And we could talk theme parks with like-minded folks. And also ad-free episodes. Ad-free main episodes are there as well, too. FYA Pod is our social everywhere. I'm at Ryan Bergara. Byron's at Byron A. Marin. But thank you for spending your time with us. Enjoy the rest of your day if you're listening to this on your drive. And we'll see you guys on the next ride. Bye-bye. Oh, wait, before we go, though. Also, and last but not least, once again, thank you to Universal for inviting us out. Really appreciate the gesture. what a privilege. So again, thank you for letting us have this experience.
You really didn't have to.
I know you really did,
But you have made our year.
You did, and also in addition to what I had mentioned before, thank you to all of you folks for watching the show.
Yeah, you're all awesome. We ran into some viewers and listeners actually out there. Yeah, you said it, not me.
That's you.
He's catching on.
I'm not.
Yeah, I think it's growing on you. It's really fun seeing you guys out there in the wild. So really appreciate the support. And I'm about to fucking pass out. I'm so
His feet are dead.
I'm delirious.
He's like Russell Crowe in the interviews. It's not his ears dead; it's his feet.
Yeah,
your feet are dead, mate.
All right, I'm gonna go to bed, or else I'm gonna die tomorrow.
Okay, I'll see you guys. Bye bye.
Take care.